Going live. Are we live? If anybody comes on, let me know. Let me know if the mic is good. Say, I can hear you now. You can always tap the thumbs up button too. I always see that if it comes on. Anyways, anywho, we're gonna go into these. Oh, by the way, Michael's birthday. So we got a little happy birthday. So happy birthday, Cora Lynn. Let's see here. So I got quite a few. All of a sudden, I got some comments. So I kind of wanted to go through them. Well, I had a little quiet time here. So one of them, I don't know if it's Core KJV, something like that. Says, when do you collect sales tax on labor? I don't quite know that question. I'm not, honestly, I hire a lot of people that are smarter than me, but I can tell you in a nutshell about some of this stuff a little bit. And like I said, this is not, don't sue me, bro. This is entertainment purposes only. I don't condone. You need to talk to an attorney, CPA, everything in between. Something I've learned, and I if you guys are like the super duper experts, and every state is different, every city is different, everything's different. It just always is. But what I found out was one with the taxes and stuff like that for us in the business, it's always been easier to pay the sales tax on the vendor side. It became a nightmare to do that at the end of the year and all the numbers. So we just pay everything out now. That way we're paying Uncle Sam, everybody's happy. And there is a lot of controversy. I've talked to, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 different CPAs and stuff, and they all kind of seem like they have their own opinion. So like I said, kind of take it with a grain of salt. So we pay everything up front. It's a lot easier. And that's why a lot of you guys that are like Chuck in a truck, it's easier to, like if you go to the store, you go into Home Depot, you go to Lowe's, whatever, just like pay for it. You know what I mean? You're paying for it up front. So it's just easier. Somebody threw the Angie's List is a scam, which I don't get much blowback that everybody's like, it's great. It's always like they screwed me. They're horrible. So Angie's List is definitely Home Advisor. Any of those third party, you got to really watch it. I even believe that Better Business Bureau is a scam because one time when I talked to them, they acted like basically if you don't pay us, we're not going to give you any kind of review or a good review. That was just one time me talking with somebody. So Better Business Bureau, watch out for them too. They'll call you and sound very official, very like we have a dispute to talk to you about. They won't tell you exactly what, and there's no dispute. It's like they act like somebody made a bad review about you and you need to handle it. And typically they want to take your money. It seems like most things nowadays, this is another reason why I typically leave my phone off because everything's a scam. Google's gotten so good now. They use, local phone numbers. So you look at it and you go, oh, yeah, that's a local phone number. That's somebody I should know or a customer. And I found out that most time it's just scams, waste time. You need to renew your car insurance. Your car warranty is up. And I tell them all the time, they don't ever listen, but I tell them, I say, right, I'm a horse and buggy. I'm Amish. And they'll still just keep yakking away. So what's this one says? So this one of these guys got me good. And it was regarding if you guys have watched my what the heck is it called? Pusher spring video. So for one, we'll wait till we get into that comment. Let's see here. And like I said, if you guys come up with any questions, I'm here for you. Business, anything. How to tie your shoes. I don't care. That's fine. Says, what's your thoughts? So this was from Mark. What's your thoughts on the 10-inch or the bigger 30-inch? I think the radius track one would use them. I've tried 10-inch a few times, but it's never seemed to go together quite right. So with Mark, I think he's right. I've heard through the guys many a times that they've had problems with the 10-inch radius track. And I I did a couple too myself, and I definitely wasn't super impressed. Um, so yeah, the 10-inch track is um, definitely not the best. It's problematic, but I understand the concept. I still think I like it. I like it better than low headroom track. A lot of guys don't. And then you got the 30 inch. The 30 inch does come in handy. I have used the 30-inch track a few times, with especially like a man door. If there's a man door in the way right next to the garage door, that's gonna, and some of you guys that are, oh, how do I express it? Um, if you guys are new into the business, you got to watch those man doors. Those man doors bit me a lot of times. And one thing to remember is that if you do man doors on, the wood doors would always get me. So if you come across a wood door, an older garage door with a wood door, and there's a man door, for whatever reason, the track it can be different. I don't know how they do it, why they do it, or what, but you got to get that dimension because I've had this happen to me where you go and you put the track up, and now all of a sudden now they go to open the man door and bam, it runs into the track, and there is nothing great about that. That always is a real big bummer. So the 30-inch track has saved me a couple times, with man doors. And they work great because the radius, a lot of people with the radius being not so sharp, it's actually a smoother transition. The door runs smoother, in my opinion. So, but the 10-inch, I agree. The 10-inch is always kind of hit and miss. It's the guys I think at the shop absolutely hate it. You know what I mean? But I will still use it. But I agree. I normally have to tinker with it to to make it right. Let me just double check. Oh, so here's Tin Man. Mr. Tin Man, he says, 10-inch radius track will never run smooth and will always be jerky. I agree. It's just too tight for 21-inch sections, panels, low headroom, best option. Yep, that's probably about right. Tracks up and down, away door smoothly through. Yep. Yep, that sounds about right. 30th tracks are beautiful. I totally agree with Tin Man here. Uh, I love seeing 30-inch tracks. It's so uncommon in my area, which it's pretty uncommon. I've only done a few, like a handful of 30-inch radius track. You got a spring. Let's see. You call a company like Service Spring, they'll inform you on center door setup, weight, springs, length. Holy cow, Mr. Tin Man's got a whole list of things here. Appreciate that. I can learn a lot from him. Cables. I won't read all that to bore you to death. All right, let's go to the next comment. Let's take a look here. How do you run the top panel struts? Oh, that was a good one. So I actually I actually just did one at the rental, and I should do a video of it. Um so it's a bear. I got the quick turn brackets on there, and I always look at it like this. Some strut is better than no strut. If it's like a sandwich door, steel on steel. So depending on what you got for brackets up there. Now I've actually taken and gone over, your rollers, the brackets and stuff. I normally what I do is I take a big tapper and I'll drill through like the hinge piece first, the thicker steel, and then I'll use like maybe a smaller tapper to kind of bite into it because I'm the type of guy that I always like to leave my big tappers for like last resort. You know what I mean? Like those are my like last ditch. Somebody hogged this thing out. Like it's this thing is Swiss cheese. My last ditch effort. So I always like to use them to get the small, and then I'll get into it. Let's see here. Two rollers brackets. It's always struggle, but I just don't know how to do it correctly. Let's see here. I think there's a reply in here. Mr. Tin Man again. We've done it a few different ways. Either cut a fit between quick turn brackets or mount below quick turn brackets. Hey, there you go, man. Mr. Tin Man. Appreciate it. That's it right there. That's it. Either cut it to fit in between or mount it below. Now the problem is I've noticed with mounting them below is for me, I'm a big uh I really like garage door opener brackets in the center. I like the ones typically if they even got the hinge to incorporate that, the whole strut, the whole center, the whole because God darn it, up here in Michigan, we get the freezing and we get herky jerkies and if you're like the guy like me that likes to install the genie screw drives that just power through everything, they'll have two broken springs. I need a strut and I need an operator bracket so I don't blow the top panel to pieces because I've seen that many times, and that's no fun when the customer needs a top. That is one bad thing about the genie screw drives. Uh, I don't really know so much on the newer ones, but the older ones, right, with the aluminum rail, those things were powerhouses, man. And I couldn't believe how many people I come to that had two broken springs. Now, my opinion, it's not real common for two springs to blow up at the same time, break. It's, one goes, another one, maybe a couple weeks later or something, it finally blows. But it's just with those genies, they just, people don't catch them. The door still keeps going up and down. They're not listening and, going, why does my door sound like it's making more noise or it's slowing down? Let's see if there's any more on here. I kind of wanted to sum them all up in a sense. Uh, this was for a gate operator. He says this was a while ago video. He said LiftMaster force monitoring sensors is not that bad. I'm glad. And like I said, it's always one of those things I don't want to ever convince anybody. If you got something, does this mouse show up on the screen too? I don't know. Here, let me move that. But it's one of those things that if LiftMaster works for you, if Genie works for you, if hey, I appreciate the thumbs up. Makes me feel a little loved. Anyways, so if whatever works for you, and the problem is I come across so many of you great people and I don't know exactly. I don't know where you're always at. Some people are down in Texas, California, some are, like Kentucky, it's New York, Canada. Gotta love our Canada. UK can't forget Sean over in the UK. And so which I think I got to email him. I think he emailed me. Sean, I apologize. I'm horrible emailing you back sometimes. Sometimes I just make a video. That's why I try to make it worded towards whatever you guys ask. But you know, it's just one of those things that if something, the biggest thing I'm always trying to promote in the business or in this on this channel is for one, I always like the feedback. I always like seeing what you guys have to say, but I also look at it and I go, whatever works, right? Like for instance, Genie right now isn't working so good for us. So we're gonna probably go back over to the LiftMaster because they're the least dirty shirt in the laundry basket. So it's kind of it just it's not I just it's kind of like with vehicles. I'm not a Chevy, I'm not a Ford, I do like the Toyotas, but the new Toyotas that are coming out with the different motors sound like they might have problems. I don't know for sure. I like whatever is going to keep money in your pocket. That's what I like. That's going to keep you on the road, that's reliable, that's not going to be broken down, that's basically safe for you to drive. I want openers the same way, right? I want them to be reliable for the customer, dependable, all those kind of things. I see Mr. Rich B's in the house. As we always cheers. Got the Wesco cup today. Don't have the red one. I like this one. I don't know why. It's got the little pop lid to it. I like it because my gloves and stuff on. I can do it. Mm. And so I just really like it. I kind of claimed it. I think it's one of the kids, and I was like, that's mine. That's mine now. But yeah. So the openers, and like I said, I got Mr. Michael. He says from Texas. What's the temperature down in Texas? It was about 50, 52 degrees up here in Michigan, and it felt like summertime. I was about ready to bust out the shorts. It was great. Loving the nicer weather, especially when we got to deal with all the snow, which we got. Most of it's gone. We got a little bit still in piles from where it gets snow plowed. So this one was from Ben. I don't know when Ben, I don't think Ben ever comes on here during the live streams. Jeez Louise. 83, 84. Jeez. Oh my gosh. That's like sunburn weather, man. Get the lotion out. Oh, so he says, but Mr. Ben, he always has really nice comments. He said working two part-time jobs and your door business full time with only 4 hours of sleep. I think there's more here. I got to click on it. He says this is what a lot of people need to realize when they see people with nice things. I thought when he said that, I really thought about that, and I said, that's so true. I really try not to ever say to anybody, when I see anything, and I go, oh, that must be nice, because I always sit there and I go, maybe they're driving a nicer car than myself, which is really easy to do, or they got the nicer house, or they got whatever, right? And I go, boy, that must be nice. I don't do that anymore because I know there was something that they had to sacrifice, and it could be anything. You know what I mean? It could be family, it could be friends, it could just be anything. They spent 10, 20 years just grinding, and finally something clicked and worked. And I think we all take that for granted, including myself. I've done it many times. And so I really like that comment when he said, a lot of people don't realize and see what nice things and sacrifice were made for people to be successful, and they should be rewarded for doing so. It says, I love hearing success stories like this. I would also like to hear other business ventures you have done, Dave. I've done too many. Um, so it says, what's this one? Awesome picture of success date. I started with $1 million insurance plan and tax number, and of course, name resonated in customers' ears. That's cool. I think that was on, which one was that? Was that my starting the business? Yeah, I think so. That's right, Michael. Summer's gonna be rough, man. I bet it gets screaming. I don't know for sure if Texas is kind of like Florida, but what really gets me, and we don't even get it obviously near as bad as I believe. I'm not. I don't live in Texas, so but the humidity is what just grinds me, man. Because I tell you what, I like heat. I really do. I love being warm. I like my fingers not being cold. And when you're doing garage doors or gate operators and all that, I love the heat, but the humidity, because for some reason, the older I have gotten, I just start sweating. And once that baby cracks, where sweat, it's like, here it comes. And it's like everything will pour out of my body. I mean, I'll be sitting there drinking Gatorades. And all of a sudden it's like, I don't know, maybe a couple hours in or something like that. And finally it just hits me. It's just like, I'm not even taking none of this into my body. It's like either I'm just peeing it out, or it just evaporates, and I just can't even. I hit like a point where I'm just like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'll tell you a funny story. It's embarrassing. It's personal. Please don't be too hard on me. I think most guys are. I think most people watch this channel are men, so I think you might understand. We're a little bit knucklehead sometimes, but anyways, should I tell this story? Should I? Should I? I think I'll tell it. It's funny because Rich just nailed it in a sense. That's what I was going to talk about. We're working on a fence job, and I'm working with a guy that he's a good dude. He used to work with me in produce when I was working the three jobs and still running the garage door business. And anyways, we're working on this job. It's getting late. And, of course, in the summertime, right, your days are just like they're unlimited. I mean, because you can work till 9, 10 o'clock at night, it seems like, with the daylight, which is awesome, which I love. And so, anyways, I'm working on this. Well, I'm starting to realize I'm getting a little bit of the rash is kind of happening down below, like what Rich said, with the sweaty bees. And I'm starting to I'm struggling, man. I'm kind of doing the cowboy walk and all that. So I have this ingenious idea that I thought, well, I got a little enclosed trailer here. It's got all our fence stuff in it, and the one guy, he's still working. I'm like, here, I'm like, just go run out the fence. Just keep working. Yeah. I'll be back in a second. Like, don't Don't come in the trailer. Don't come knocking on. Like I'm busy. And so I go in there, right? And all I got is I got deodorant. See where this is going? So I do a little deodorant action down there, and oh my goodness, that you don't do. If Uncle Dave's got anything to say, any life advice, no deodorant below the belly. And so, I mean, I come out of there, man. It looked like I ate hot peppers, probably, just sweat my face, and I'm just like, um, and he's looking at me. He goes, "What'd you do?" And I told him what I did. He goes, "Oh man," he goes, "You don't ever do that." He goes, "You get baby powder or something," And I didn't know. I was looking for any kind of relief. I didn't care, and I just thought, "Hey, this will keep me from sweating. It'll keep it from getting it worse." I mean, I probably would have stuck motor oil down there. I didn't care. I was dying, and basically, we didn't last very long. Probably worked about another, 10, 15, 20 minutes. And I said, "All right, man." I said, "We're done for the day. We're just going to have to come back tomorrow." I said, I need to go home. I said, "I need a shower. I got to soak in the tub, whatever." I was like, "I need some water." Now, there's always a lot of controversy. I've had this with just, with kids and stuff like that too. And for some reason, the water works the best. Water, a little bit of soap, maybe not so much soap, but I tell you what, man, I've seen other things. I've tried it. I've carried baby powder and stuff, and it's a band-aid, but oh man. Or just saying, Michael might have a good idea. I was having one year I was getting it so bad. I ended up I changed I changed the old underwear, and then I basically went to a I don't know, it's almost, I don't know how to describe it. It's embarrassing. Like a cup in a sense. It was a fiber one, but like what you use for uh a jockey strap or something. I don't know what you call it, but it's just anything to let the wind blow. And then I even went to shorts because it just, you guys know how it is, right? You guys know how it is. I mean, it's just, man, when you're in the heat of the moment, you're in the fight, you're in the battle, your stuff is already there, your guys are already there, your helpers, whoever, you want to get this thing wrapped up, and then you might have an hour or two left, but that hour and two is just pure misery. If you got, you know, big thing for me always is you gotta keep the old privates good to go, and the boots, and the shoes. What's this, loose shorts? Yeah, I mean, I do pretty good now, and plus I know, I think breaks and stuff like that can help a lot. Know your limits. When I was a little younger, I mean, I wouldn't stop. I just keep going because you just want to get this job done. You want to get this paid. You want to get paid. Um, and sometimes you just have to go. You know what? We're gonna have to schedule this another day. It's just not worth the burnout. I still remember one we did a few years back. Me and my business partner were out struggling doing fence, and I was like, "We got to get this done. We got to get this done." And so we get it done, and we did it like on the hottest week of the year in summertime there, and we got sunburn. I mean, like the next day we were lobsters. I mean, I got a t-shirt, a white t-shirt underneath my hat, on my neck because my neck got burned so bad. I'm wearing all long sleeves, and I see why a lot of these guys like construction, and they'll do the concrete guys and that, they got long sleeves. And it's like, dude, how do you wear long sleeves? But dang, man, if your skin's gonna get cooked, you got to, because holy cow, that stuff wreaks havoc on you. So we did it the next day, right? And I think he even might have called in that day or something because he was burned. His legs were just fried. And then, of course, you know how it goes. Like the next week, it's like 20 degrees cooler and way nicer. And I'm like, that's why I'm always like, you got to watch what you're doing. Like you're the captain of the ship, because you got to watch what happening to yourself, because, you're going to go down with the ship, right, Cap? But you also, if your guys are dying, they're going to get swept off, or sunburn. They're not going to be no good the next day. So you got to watch all these things. Oh yeah, it says the steel toe boots are horrible. Like Owens, yeah, ovens on the feet. Oh man, I've gotten a little more slack. I like these Reebok ones I wear, and they will. They got like a, I don't know if it's for sure a steel toe in them, but they're like a tennis shoe. Boy, I really like those, and they're breathable. I like those in the summertime if I'm doing like residential, commercial. I don't do nothing commercial without boots. It's just too risky, and you got to look professional. I always look at it like your dress code is kind of like the uniform guys. You know what I mean? So if the uniform guys are kind of getting away with it, and the company's okay, it's okay to wear shorts. You just can't be wearing like your last week's blue jeans that you cut off and they're straggly, and you look like you just came off the lawnmower. They got to be like a blue color or something that's you know, a little. I was just talking to the wife of Tron, and I was telling her how I think we used to do uniforms, and I told her, I said, I think if Cap wants to, we should do uniforms again. It just makes you so much easier to dive into things and have something it makes you look, it's more professional. I used to be really big into it, but then it was, I forget what it was, but we figured out there was a cost savings, and we would pay the guys to purchase their own, because sometimes the guys, it gets weird. They complain, I don't like the feel of it. I don't like this. And so it's tough. But it is nice. And they normally have pretty robust stuff. Um, so I don't know. You guys let me know, uniforms, no uniforms. They're kind of nice. $1 million insurance plan. So of course, name. What does this one say? We stack doors. I had this weird one. This was on my 14 by 14 video, and he's saying I didn't really ever reply to this one because it was kind of like I don't know. It was a weird comment. I didn't really recognize the guy, but he was saying something about he installs like all the track and then he installs the door. And I thought, okay, well, if that's how you do it, I'm not, I've seen guys use nails to do the doors. They'll stack the door with nails, bend them. I just look at whatever's to, what's going to be fast. Now, this would be a question I'd like to ask the audience, because this is always a weird, I'd love to see the comments on this one, but and like I said, I don't think I get the comments after live's done. It's like the comments, they just vanish. I think, I don't know, but I'd like to know, when people are winding springs, how do you do it? I'll tell you how I do it. I actually start winding my spring first. I wind my spring first, and when my spring set, I let it relax. I'm talking like a residential, something simple, and then I clamp it. Right, I do the set screws. Then my shaft is all locked. I make sure my shaft is even proportion on my drums. So we'll call this step one. Do you do step one, which is my way that I do it, and then you wind the other spring. Well, actually, I'll wind the spring, set it, shaft's good. I set the cables, and then I'll wind the second spring. I'll dump that spring. So when that spring dumps, it's on the cable. So this is step one still. And then I wind the second spring, and I'm good to go. Now, other guys, I've never proven this. I always wanted to do this as a test to see which one was faster. A lot of the other guys that got trained by my other foreman guy, they clamp it with vice grips. That's like, we'll call that step two. So is it, clamp it with vice grips, and then how do they do it? They clamp it, and I think they get the cables set, clamp the vice grip, right? So everything's set, and then they wind the spring, and then they'll dump it, tighten it down and dump it. But the vice grip always throws me. I'm like, I can't do the vice grip. I'm always like, why do you do that vice grip? And I think the concept's there, but I just curious of what you guys ever do with it. If you do, step one, which is my way, which I think might be a little faster, but might not. I never tested it. Or step two, which is use vice grips, get everything set. I don't know what the benefit. Like, I still think about it, and I watched Cap do it even, and I don't do. I always look at it like this. I don't care how you do it. I just go, long as it's safe. Long as it's safe, it works. I don't care if it takes you an extra 3 minutes or whatever it is. I don't care. Like, I don't care. Long as you feel comfortable, because when it comes to garage door springs, that only thing, you don't want nobody getting hurt. And so if that's how you feel comfortable with it, then have at it. I just figure it's one thing I don't have to bring up, basically, vice grips, clamp it. But I've seen other guys, I've seen them do it, and I'm always like, I can't say it's right or wrong. I just would like to know if one's faster than the other. That's the only thing I haven't done. And that's a hard, as it says, Whatever floats your boat. That's right. I like that. Let's see. Long sleeve makes the sweat cool. You down because of evaporation. See that? I think that's right, Rich, because I know when I was wearing all that stuff, I actually wasn't that bad. I was like, wow, like I feel kind of good, you know? So I don't know. It's just I don't know. I mean, you look at those guys in the desert, right? That's what they're always wearing. I mean, probably because they have to, but it just seems like there is a trick to it. Excuse me. Michael says, what does he got here? Do you get your logo, shirt, etc.s locally or online? Well, we got kind of lucky because with Cap, he actually used to work at a t-shirt and sweater company that makes all the shirts and stuff for a lot of the schools and that. So he's always kind of had the inside scoop. And since he worked there for quite a few years, we've been very lucky and blessed by him that he can basically, like, anytime that time comes, he just so I guess we do locally. Um, I think for a lot of guys starting out, it's a lot easier to do just online. I used to do when I was first starting out. I used a local company, and oh man, boy, my PTSD starts kicking and I start shaking. But I remember just all the time I spent, and now we have the convenience of just sitting in front of your computer. There's one, oh, I wish I could think of the name of it right off the top of my head, but you just go to some of the top ones in the search of Google, and you just use them and whatever software they got, just bada bing, bada boom. Now, I remind you that a lot of times how they get you a little bit is they're gonna, they'll make their shirts and stuff look cheap, but they're shipping or something, right? And they kind of go off quantity. So if you're only doing onesie twosies, but I still think it's worth it. Even if you're spending, like for a sweater or something, 28, 30, $40 seems like a lot, but what's your time worth? And when you're out there on the road and you get in an accident, or my biggest thing always was what I ran into is, especially if you got something that's a unique design, I'd go into these places, and these places, not saying all of them, but they, like the mom and pop shops, kind of, they don't have the logo. So I always had to go to my the guy that made our business cards and everything and our paperwork, and I'd have to get it from him, and then you would send it to her, and then she would, well, it's not JPEG or something, can you resend it in JPEG? And it's like, you call them up, you're like, hey, she says it's not in JPEG. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll send that over, and you're like the middle person big time. And it just seemed like it was like a real big pain in the butt. So if you could stick with something that's a picture that you can find organically online, and live with it, or I think that helps. I've been looking at for some of the other businesses, I've been like thinking about more like use the font, a certain size font. Like if you think about it, think about what Jobber does. Jobber has a certain font to their business, and you notice it and you recognize it in the colors. So if you can build something like that and it's just off a font versus a design, like you got to have a whatever, a chimpanzee in the background or something or whatever, or like ours, if you ever looked at ours started with the reason I got like a Nike check. I remember me and my business partner back in the day, we were just sitting in front of a computer and we were doing something on the design, and we made it, and that's what we've always kind of stuck with. I think it's gotten altered a little bit over the years because somebody would go, hey, I altered this a little bit. Does that look okay? And you're like, yeah, it looks good. So, but no, we're real lucky that we have, Cap. He's already into that stuff. So he'll message me even sometimes, and be like, you need any sweaters? And I'm like, nah, I think I'm good. Um, so it's nice and it's nice that they're already, and they're not really so much a mom and pop shop. I don't know how many employees they got, but if I had to guess, maybe 6, 8, 10, 12, and they pump out a lot. So if you, what I guess what I'm getting at is, I'd recommend you going somewhere too that's going to have your stuff on file. You know what I mean? So you can kind of go in there, and if you want to get a hat, my problem was too is the lady I dealt with didn't do hats. So I remember she sent me to this old lady's house, Lady was nice, right? But she was big into cats. Like I walked down the basement, I mean the sink, and I mean there was so much hairballs on the side, right? And I gave her the hats. I showed her what I wanted, and she was like, "Okay." She's like, "I'll get them done. It'll be 6 to 8 weeks." And I'm like, 6 to 8 weeks? Like holy crap! Like like we got an event going on or something. We want to give them away, and I'm like, okay, like oh that stinks. And it was like you always had to call her on the phone. She didn't do any emails. It was just like, oh my gosh. So if you can find a central or find these, this stuff has gotten so advanced over the years. You can do so much online now. And even though it seems like it's a little more, it's really not because your time. And I always look at it like if I leave, right, and I get in a car accident, I'm gonna be like, son of a biscuit, like because I saved $10, depending on what you're buying, if you're buying in big quantities. It says, but appreciate the question. Um, let's see. I do 3 second. What is this? I do. What do you got, Rich? I do three sex, and then wind. What does that? What does that mean, Rich? Tell me. I do three. I might just be reading this wrong. I might be a little dumb on this. It says I set red cable, vice, black cable, then spring. Okay. So you do it like, you know, like my guys. I don't know if you know, I don't know. I don't know. If that works, that's great. I'm just always a big one where like I said, I just get up there, start winding that spring, do the first one, get everything, boom. Then I use the set screws and I'm like, boom, there's my vice grip. My winding bar is just relaxed. Um, But like I said, I watch other guys do it and I'm like, whatever, like like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm always just curious if it's like, I'm waiting for somebody to go, I just wave a wand and it just does it on its own. And I'm like, what? Where's that wand? Find it for me. I want it. But I'm thinking about, like I said, I was thinking about going to the IDA and I was thinking about doing, if they got one of those automatic winders, depending on which one brand I go with, I was thinking about buying one. Hopefully, I got them there. I'd assume they would. Don't you think? Like they'd have some for sale. I've been to these shows, but I don't know if I've ever. I see the brochures and all that, but like I just want to purchase one, like right there when I see it and it's in use, and I'm like, that's the one I want. Like I want that one. And I still haven't had my mind set up. There's like two or three. Um, and some of them throw me off a little bit because they have a residential style, then they have a commercial style, then you got to buy a different contraption. And I'm like, well, that's is what it is, but I got to get something started on them because um, I think they'll just help your shoulders out tremendously. That's what we got to do. It's like having using a screwdriver, and then you get a flat bar, a crowbar, and you're like, oh, the leverage is wonderful. Oh, Mr. Rich says the Sure Winder. $800. Wow, that's pretty cheap because I forget, I had it in my shop, my one office, and I was remodeling it and I moved a lot of my paperwork. But I called that company and I was like, how much one? And she's like, it's $1,200. I was like, oh, it's like $1,200. And I was like, so the problem I have is that if you buy, I don't know, you need like three or four sets. The problem I see is if I have a feeling these will do the Houdini. You know what I mean? Like, there ain't no spot to put an air tag in the darn thing, because I don't know. They're just one of those items that's it looks like a transformer arm to me. You know what I mean? Something from Terminator, and you know this thing is sweet. And then it goes home and it never comes back, type of thing. So it's just you know I hate spending that kind of money. But if they're going to use it, absolutely, and there needs to be more videos of what can go wrong and what can be problematic. Dun, 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 get checked in at the end of the day. What do you mean get checked in at the end of the day? Rich, you mean at the IDA? Or are you talking about going to the hospital? Oh, the tool. Yeah, I'll check it. Like I said, I'll have to do some more Googling. What's this one say? This one was weird. It says it consumers the same time. What's it say? The only thing with the vice grip method is that it adds a set of the set of taking off the vice grip. Though the vice grip adds a safety measure if the door is too hot. That's true. That's true. I've had a garage door. I remember one time almost knocked me off because of I kind of pulled the bar out. I was like, "Oh, what's wrong with this thing?" I pulled it out being young, and I remember the door. It came it came up and about knocked me off. I was doing the whole grabbing it, trying to push it, and it's basically knocking me off the ladder. So let's see if there was any more on here. Like I said, I was trying to sum some of the insurance. Oh, this guy, he's got insurance. Who is this? Mr. Tanner. He's got insurance is highway robbery. You also never need it, but the minute you don't have it, you need it. Isn't that the truth? This is for starting a garage door business. Insurance slash license was what I had. That's the truth. I remember we actually had a lap in insurance and we were doing the workman's comp. And then that was when the one guy, Mr. J, I'll call him, he ended up breaking the rib. And it's like, oh, great. I don't think we even used it, but it was just the fact that we were right in between laps, of different companies. And it was like, are you kidding me? That's how it always goes. Told me. Oh, I think this was a good one too. This was from, I don't know who this one is. I never seen this guy, but he says the MRN Mentoral Sure. I think this is who I don't know. Like I said, let's see what he's got. He says, this was a good one. When I had the video. I says, I need more business. How to make the phone ring. He says, the guy who trained me on garage doors told me if you make a friend, you make a sale. He says, be pleasant and professional. Show people what you're doing if they're curious. Talk about life, hobbies, interests, whatever. I had one job recently where what was this? I just recommended music back and forth with the guy while working. And he says, could have had done it quicker if I wasn't chatting. Absolutely. He says, but we both have he has a good time. He says, make him your friend. Nobody wants to spend money on a garage door. This is the truth. There's some truth to this. I want to touch on this before I forget about it. You think about with garage doors, I kind of this kind of resonated with me when I went and talked to a body shop guy, and he's a friend of mine, and he's older. And I told him, I said, hey, I said, is your son going to take over the body shop? And he said, he goes, no. And I said, he goes, I don't want to say his name. But he just goes, he says he's too smart for that. I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, he goes, things have changed. And he says, in the business, he says, he says, probably once a week, he says, go and, sit with the salespeople in a sense, the paint and the body filler type people, all this kind of stuff. And he says, unfortunately now, he says, everything is, done remotely. So I'm talking to people when, somebody needs something else extra done. They're down in Florida. And so when I was thinking about this, it kind of resonated in the garage doors a little bit because he goes, he says, Dave, think about it. He goes, you get into a car accident. You're upset about that. He says, now you got to deal with the insurance, right? You're upset about that. Now you bring the car in. You're upset about that. He says, I call you and say, hey, I found more damage than what we quoted you. The insurance isn't going to cover this. Do you want to pay for this extra, $200,000, whatever it is? Now they're mad up about that. He says, then they come to your place. He says to pick up their car. And he says, they're typically not real happy about, that they got to pay the rest of the remaining balance and how much it cost. And that there was no added benefit. Right. But he told me, he says, but they'll go and spend, $10,000, $50,000, over $100,000 on a kitchen remodel. And he says, they are ecstatic about it. He says, not a problem in the world. They'll spend that money just freely on new cabinets and tile and the sink, the undermount one, and that faucet. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, wow, wow. I think he's got a point here, And so, garage doors are kind of the same way in a nutshell. There's unless maybe they're doing a new, and it's going to improve the look of the house. They're typically most of the time we're there because of the plow guy ran into it. My daughter, my wife, my husband, whoever, the door has failed, and then when you got to tell them, look, you really should just replace it. I think we fall into that category a little bit. So I just thought I'd bring up that story because I thought that was quite interesting to think about that on you know, but I do like I said, I don't recognize this one for the comments of this guy. And I'm super happy he shared this, but I also think, just my personal opinion, that some of these people, not that you are definitely providing a service. There's no doubt about that. And you need to be professional and polite and everything. But it's always a little different, I think, for us as a business owner sometimes, because not that, anywhere I always look at it, this is how I've always judged this. Anything I do, if you have me mop your floor, you have me do the shingles on your house, or I'm going to do the best job I can absolutely do. I'm going to be as professional, because once you commit, right, you you could have walked away and said you don't want to do this or whatever. And I've had jobs, plenty of jobs. I just went past the cemetery today, and I, told one of my kids, I said, hey, I said, I did that fence. And she goes, did you make any money? And I said, not really. I said, I probably broke even or lost money on it. And she's asking me why. And I told her some of the reasons of what happened with it and stuff. And, but I did one heck of a job. You know what I mean? I did the best job I could at the time with the knowledge and everything. You know what I mean? And it looks great still. And, but, what I'm getting at is that I think sometimes we can get this illusion too, that some of these customers, we have to remember, why are they coming to us? Is it because we're cheap? Is it because, are we just Johnny on the spot? And it's hard in the business to sometimes raise your prices without losing where you think that's kind of a friendship, but it's really just a price. So you always got to take that stuff with a grain of salt. I've always looked at it like restaurants, not restaurants, but grocery stores. I like grocery stores in a sense because I look at it and I go, they can, when you go in there, right, just as a normal customer, you make the decision, right? You might see something, I'm not, I'm not paying that, or that's too much. I'm not, that's your choice, right? But you buy this stuff, you take it up, right? You don't even haggle, especially at the big superstores, right? That's not their department, right? You don't even haggle, you just pay the price. With us, it's where am I going with this? How am I going to explain this? We got to go out there. Like, you already have the initial investment, especially if you're doing an estimate, and you're hoping that you're swinging and you're going to hit. At the supermarket, people walk in all day, right? And they're shopping and shopping and buying and buying, and people might walk out and buy nothing because they just the prices. But for us, it's a very one on. So there's a ton of time, ton of back and forth, and that's why I'm always trying to explain to you guys that you know basically, don't let these customers, don't let these customers waste your time, because uh, we have all this technology now that is such a huge help. But if you don't use those tools to your disposal, you can just get gobbled up with a ton of um, just wasted time, and so just always remember to have people send you those pictures, pre-qualify them, try to give them some numbers, unless it's a good customer. Certain customers, you can't do that. Commercial, typically, if they're paying, you just gotta go. you know Let me check some more on here. uh there was one on here. I don't know what that one is. He said, oh, this was an old one. Still doing everything, but no leads. It's a tough market out there. What do you guys see? You think we're in a booming economy? Does anybody think we're in a booming economy? I don't think we're in a booming economy. I don't know what's going on out there, but everything I see is kind of oh, I don't think you're the same Rich I'm friends with on Facebook, but you remind me of the one guy, and he comments on everything, and I love it. I love it. And I mentioned something, and I said I knew he was going to say something. I, I I love you, Rich. I really do. I just slow. I like that slow. Yeah, I think we see seasonalities. It's taken me a long time. I know. I know the guys have been hanging around, the shop just a little bit more. You can see it. The estimates aren't being pumped out. It's definitely it's slowing. It's that time of year, and you might get, like I said, you might get a little burst with tax season, stuff like that. Spring will pop a little bit, but sometimes if it's not such a jolly year, it'll either kind of flatline or it'll start declining a little bit. I mean, it's like you get kind of the normal ones, um, you know, that'll keep you kind of going. They want to get certain projects done and stuff like that. But like I said, this the residential. mm, I don't know, and I heard a guy from one of the channels I watch that does the real estate, and he was saying that he's predicting like kind of the I don't even want to say the word because I'll probably get you'll just see the men in black come in here and take me away. Um, but he was saying the decline, the R will happen in the summertime is what he was thinking. I don't know. I thought it was going to kind of happen sooner. But now when I look at it and I go, if I was in charge and I was this and I was that, I'd just try to keep things propped up. And then I would dump it on whoever the next guy is going to be. And I don't know if that's going to be the case. But either way, we just have to keep trying to plug away and keep it moving, and um, try to make sure you everything you're touching, you're trying to get feedback from the customers. Make sure you try to get those. If they can do a Google review and all that. I think some of the stuff people are taking a little bit too silly. I actually just got off the phone with a guy, and I think I've talked to my brother a little bit too, my brother-in-law about this, and some of this stuff is getting a little bit gnarly. With I think you got to be careful. This is just my opinion. I haven't heard a lot of people having success stories with the whole like Google ads. I just had another guy reach out to me with the email, which I really appreciate. I can't remember your name off the top of my head. And he was telling me kind of how you do certain things and you get the green check mark and all that. And I think that's a little better, but what we have to remember is that some of the stuff through Google, through Facebook, and that it's like a race to the bottom almost. I mean, whoever's, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but whoever's got the bigger, the budget and willing to spend is kind of who's on top. Um, and I think they're still taking some of this, organically stuff, but you can spend a lot of money, is what I'm trying to say. You can kind of go broke really fast. And so I just don't know. I don't know. What's got here? Text time and Christmas bills. People spend all that money on Christmas, man. That's when you'll see it. It's always really weird for us in the business. I always want to make a calendar, but it'll be like, I mean, you're just slammed, right? It's like everybody's trying to dump their money, the corporations, you're just slammed until about Christmas time. You know what I mean? It seems like, because you got this wave and it's hard to stop that wave. So, you know, it always just seems like when it's hunting season time, it's everything. The holidays mess things up. The people are getting sick. That's when all the colds and that are going around, and you're just drowning. And then it's like it'll come to be like you know like right now, like January, February. You're like, what do I do with myself? Holy, there's like nothing to do. Well, there is something to do, which is called sharpen the saw. That's the thing you do. You get those vehicles ready, you get those tires changed out that you need to, you get those brake jobs done. You get you get the shop cleaned up. You get ready because there is going to be a day that the war is coming, and it's just nice to be ready and go. I'm ready for this day. My truck's all stocked up. I got torsion tubes. I got struts. I got weather seal ready. I got my nuts and bolts. All my tools are swapped out that need to be. Inventory is looking good for whatever you think might be hot and heavy. Oh, this course is going to be slow. Year, I'm about to start a residential. It never fails. It never fails, Michael. It never fails. That's why, I was kind of trying to say in that one video, if you can, because it was tough, right, for me because I was going through we were going through what was it? Was I don't know, was that Bill Clinton? Bill Clinton, man, when he was just things were just rocking, I didn't sleep with that woman, and things were just booming. And we got in, like I said, right about '06, and right about '07, '08, everything was going down. And like I said, I basically had to jump ship. I had to jump back into another job. And then I was running the door business, and I got into the door business basically full time again. And so then I ended up working two part-time jobs, which was technically in a sense to pay my full-time worker during the day, which was actually my business partner, which seems really weird, but that's just how he was. So you and it just it's amazing how long it takes. It's a lot of discipline. It's a lot of discipline and a lot of sacrifice. It really is. I There was so many times in the business I I've told myself, or I was like, I just how do I say it? Like I'd be like, so I'd go, oh, this is what I would tell myself. I'd go, take this with a grain of salt. But I'd go, I'd be better off working a regular job. I'd make better money. I'd get because the way I looked at it is I said, you know what? And at least it was cut off. That was the biggest thing. I work my 8 hours and it's cut off. Instead, now I'm in the business, I'm working 12, 14, 16 hours a day. And then you lay down in bed and you're just sitting there and it's like being drunk, you know what I mean? And you're just things are moving, and you're just like, I gotta go to sleep, and it never it's like when you wake up in the morning and you get that like 1 second or 2 second where you wake up and you're like, it's like a kid again. You're like, I slept good, mommy. And then it's like, download, badness has happened. This has happened. Oh my gosh, that's right. Somebody still got hurt. I gotta do workman's comp. I gotta you're like, I just want to go back to sleep. I was having such a nice dream. And but it's oh man, cool. We got Mr. Tin Man from Canada. What's up, Mr. Tin Man? I love your comments, man. You do such a great job. Appreciate it. Uh Rich says, hey, is that the Canada? Hey. Oh man. I still remember when I went to Canada the one time, of course it's the young thing, right? I go over there and it's like first thing you think is gas is cheaper, but it's in liters. It's like, look how cheap the gas is. And then I remember we were in Canada. I forget, I think we did Niagara Falls and stuff, beautiful place. And then we come back. And I remember it was harder. Of course, we're driving out there and you can't, you're not supposed to transport wood. We were going to have a little, I think I don't know if we were camping. I can't remember how we stayed. I thought we stayed in a hotel, but maybe not. Maybe we were doing tent camping. And, so we're bringing like firewood. I remember we start freaking out because we find out it says like no exporting firewood or something. I was like, oh, like, what do we do with this? Do we like just dump it out in a ditch somewhere? Like, we're going to get so busted. We got in, right? But then on the way, I think we stayed for 3 days or something like that. On the way back, man, it's like US wouldn't let us. It was like they were asking us way harder questions and stuff. And it was like I wanted to grab the guy, let me back into my own country. Like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, I'm gonna be stuck here forever. I gotta go to work tomorrow. Oh, it was fun. It was fun. I feel bad for the Canadian, man. I tell you. I know they got some nice stuff, but man, that Mr. T guy that's running that place. Not that Mr. B over here is much better, but man, I was so sad what they did to those poor truck guys over there, about cutting them off. And I know they do that everywhere right now. It's horrible. I just found out. I'm sure nobody that watches my channel, I don't know, but watches Dave Hodges. He was just a good old boy, and I don't know, I enjoyed watching him. He just kind of like a watching, like, talk, listening to your grandpa, and he'd tell you all kinds of things. His dad, I think, was in the military of some sort. And also, thought about him. I said, man, I said, I haven't seen nothing from him in quite a long time. So I thought, I hope he didn't pass away. And so I ended up looking him up and found out some other people mentioned that he got basically his channel was totally taken down. And I thought, wow, that's sad. You know, um, I did right back at you, Rich B. Oh man, that's funny. uh, yeah, that got me, that whole gasoline, man. I just still remember being at the gas station and me and my buddy were all looking. I think we had like two trucks, we were both hauling stuff or maybe or something. And we're like, man, look how cheap it is. And it's like, we're like, oh, wait, it's in liters. Like, wait, do the math. And it's like, oh, it's not that much cheaper. It's like, psh, man, it's like they got us, we're all excited. It's like, we're going to be filling up before we go back over. Heck yeah. Yeah, that's cool. But, no, I was sad about Dave Hodges, man. I was sad to see his channel. Guess no strikes, just whacked. And so I guess that's why it's important for all of us. Like I should do something too. I should do something where I don't know what I would do. Because I don't really want to do anything that I take like money. So I thought about um I don't know how I could do it, but at least if I could get contacts, that way if something was ever to happen for me, the guys in black suits come in and I could be like, hey, I've just this is what's happened, you know. That's right. Rich's uh got the sunglasses. That's right. You never know. You never know. It's just we're in crazy times. I think there's more people like you and me out there than what we know about. And I hope things will change. I don't know if anybody heard anything about the I don't like I said, I don't like to say too much, but the guys that drive the big rigs over in the old New York. And I don't know if they did much. I haven't done a lot of research. I've heard about it. Um, but I just keep wondering what we got to do to make things change because some of the stuff is just getting a little bit wonky. I don't like seeing none of these guys, these military guys, or not military, the police officers, even over there that get disrespected. I've seen a little short video about something about the camp. You probably know where I'm going with this. The camp, and they're beating up on police, and I thought that is just how do we ever expect the system to change if there's no discipline? I mean, I'm not seeing, at least in our area. I was telling the wife, I said, I don't see more enforcement. How are things supposed to change without, and when I talked to the guy, this is maybe about 8 months ago or so, that stopped at my shop and he wanted to make sure I wasn't doing something criminal. He says, that's what I do. He says, I go around and make sure nobody's breaking in, which I can respect that. And, but anyway, as I was talking to him, I said something about like, I told the wife, it'd be really easy to be a policeman now because, they were being basically just spit on, you know what I mean? In a sense, I mean, you basically got to get, jabbed a couple times with a really hard piece of metal before you can even do something to somebody, which I don't think is right by any means. And he goes, "Yeah," he goes, it's not what think it is. It's not cracked up to be as good as what you think." And I said, "Oh, and I was just trying to make small talk. I wasn't even, don't worry, I'm not jumping in the uniform. I respect them, I appreciate them, but I just how do you how does the system going to keep running if we don't have like people to back them up? You know what I mean? Like I just don't understand. Like, and it's sad because even in my county, the guy says we try to get them to go to another county. We'll push them out in a sense because they'll get locked up longer than they will in our county. And I'm like, what? Like, how does that even? And I'll see stuff like pursuits get canceled and it's not even like a real high speed case. It'll be at nighttime. And I'm just thinking, how does that stuff even fly? Like, So they just know if they speed, they can just basically get away. They'll cancel it. They typically somebody else, on the outskirts finds them. Um, but how demoralizing for our, men and women in uniform that they can't pursue this bad person that just did something because it's a high speed now. And I get, I wouldn't want my wife or kids or anybody to get hit, with a vehicle, but I also don't like the fact that they think they can get away and do bad things. Uh, yeah. So Rich, I think you got a good point. A lot of the states are sending the National Guard. The problem I see is what I heard. Now, like I said, I'm not there, so it's one of those things I'm always kind of like, I'm just not there. So I don't see it. But I was watching one where they show that park that they closed down, which is great. But then they were showing like, I don't know if this was even real, like I said, they're driving down and they show like the gates are open in another spot. And it's like, well, you know, instead of coming here, just go down there. And I was like, okay, that's silly. And then I started hearing people say, well, they're just coming through, like Arizona and they're coming through California. And it's like, yep, I don't doubt that. Now, the thing is, what I do see is, I keep hearing about this money, and that's sad because they're making money. It's always about money. You know what I mean? It's like just follow the money. Um, so they're getting pushed. I don't know what they're getting, like $3,000 a head or 5,000 to bring them or something. I don't know who exactly. The thing is, there's just so many things behind the scenes that we don't get to see or know the truth. And unfortunately, that's why they always say, whoever controls the media controls the masses. And I'm so happy that we have platforms and people. There is people out there that are doing a great job with some of that stuff. Um, but I just don't even know what to believe anymore. I really don't because you think about it. Let's so I watch occasionally. I watch Glenn Beck, right? But my wife says to me one day, she says something about, he's part of I don't know what the terminology, I don't even want to say it, but the something like this or something. I don't, and and I said, that would kind of make sense to me. I said, because I said what he says on his platform, I go, I don't even know, like little guys will say something and it's like boom, they're gone, strikes. And then hear him, he does his Wednesday night specials and stuff, and he'll go into depth about all this. And I'm thinking, how does he not just poof, vanish? You know what I mean? And I don't even hear him say anything about ever strikes or anything. And I just go, is he just like, I feel like a lot of this stuff is like a football game. It just depends on what side you're on, right? But ultimately, it's a big arena. It's kind of like Rome and the gladiators and stuff like that. It's you know, you know, look over here while I'm doing something over here. That's it. So I just don't know. You know, I just try to use common sense. I try to take care of my own family and my extended family, business, and it's tough. It is tough. And once these guys get out there, especially if you run a business, it's kind of like I almost wish we all went to the military for a little bit. I think that would make us shape up a little bit. 2 4 years. I think that's good to some degree. I don't say I promote what the. I'd rather that our masters be sending their women, men and children, in the front lines. That would make me believe more. But I like the concept that you know, it's good for you to be in the ditches. A little mud on you. A few stray bullets here and there. I think that kind of makes you put your head down at night. You're gonna really snuggle that pillow pretty good. Um, and then I think if they understood, if we learn more about the business aspect of a lot of things, any business, I think it'd be great because when you see, what's going on and all the taxes and insurance and everything else under the sun, it gets to be like, wow, like, like I don't know who I'm even working for anymore. I'm working a lot of hours, but I got to pay this and the vendor and the insurance guy and this and oh yeah. So I don't know, but I'm glad there's something. But here's the thing, like with Rich, they're sending the national G's down there. What gets me is I go, why now? That's my big question. I go, why now? And not a year or 2 or 3 years ago. Why now? Is it just it took that long to make everything click, or why now? Why didn't I just we all know this. I mean, it's just says a police. What's Michael got? He says the police and the teachers, neither one is allowed to do their jobs. Isn't that the truth? Man, that is the truth. It's really tough. It's tough. There's a lot of politics. I feel bad. We do basically the homeschooling now, and I always wanted the kids to deal with the big thing for me was always I wanted them to deal with social interaction. But some of these things that go on, there's so many. I mean, it's horrible. It's horrible. It really is about how many. I mean, our kids they'd have to have a whole doctor slip and everything, um, because they wouldn't get certain things, certain pokes and stuff, and so they had to have like a clean bill of health, so they could participate. And then it's just some of the stuff, whatever, white, white pea, the one they were coming out with their tea, Then I'm hearing these poor kids are something about kitty litter boxes in the corner of the classroom. Come on, man, what are you people? And the problem is a lot of people don't know these. Sometimes these places are funded. Everything's funded by the government. So if they don't if they don't do their certain criteria or certain curriculums, I mean, when I'm sitting down with the math teacher and she goes, well, we do this, they don't really normally get it at this grade. We do it for the next grade. And then when she's explaining to me and I'm sitting there going, huh? I mean, what you're telling me how they're doing this is like, it just doesn't even make sense. Like it's so complicated. I just, especially at times when you time stuff by whatever they do, I'm sitting there and I don't know, man, that's just weird. So, but like I said, everything's got a caveat to it. You know, Sometimes it's nice being single. Sometimes it's nice being married. It's just how you look at it and how you deal with it. And hopefully, you just teach them what you can. And it says, let's Tanner got just look on the internet. I like Richie says it's like chess games. It is, man. Just look on the internet. The internet is always right. That's right, Tanner. Just look on the internet. Everything they say, they can't lie on there. They cannot lie. I had a lot of stuff like that. Like I'd get a lot of blowback, like when I was younger, a kid. Like they can't tell you that, and I'm just a very like, I'm always a very realistic person. Where I just look at something, I'm like, I don't know about that. One week it's eggs are good for you. Next week eggs are bad for you. It's high cholesterol. And I'm like, what is it? Like how many years I always look at it and I always tell myself, I go, let's say the pokey poke, right? It can solve all your problems, but I go, we can't even cure male baldness. We can't. You know what I mean? There's no miracle pill. There's nothing. How do we come up with something in so little time that we can cure? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I just like simple things. Like unfortunately, we're probably I don't want to say it. That's just I don't know. I get in trouble. Uh that's right. It says just your eyes and trust your gut, man. I tell you what, if you're doing anything business, anything, even if it's personal, just life, not even business, I can't tell you how many times my gut was right and my mind was wrong. Where I just felt like something, but I pursued with it, and it just turned out to be a mess or a wreck, or it didn't work out. It's like if something don't smell right, don't look right, it don't taste right, it's probably not right. You know what I mean? So just you got to always just have such an open mind on things. Um, and I think some people they just don't. Unfortunately, they really are closed minded, and my ways are always right, and that's fine, I guess. It says Trust your eyes. I wonder if it's about the number of subscribers and money it makes YouTube. I wonder if it's all about the number of subscribers and money it makes. I don't know what the whole story on the old YouTube university is. I know a lot of people are going over to like Rumble, and you know, it's hard to say because it used to be when I was younger, it used to be MySpace. MySpace was a big thing, and then it turned into obviously Facebook. Um, but I don't know. I don't know what it is that makes it trigger. Um, it could be anything. That's why I'm always like, I think sometimes with this Facebook ads, I think with these Google ads, with anything you get into, it's really tough because they can get into your pocket, get your credit card. That's always the biggest one. That's why I'm always like a big fan. If you in business, if you're doing something and you don't think it's going to be quite right, give them go get a burner credit card of some sort. You know what I mean? That's just that account only. There's only a little bit of money in there, and then give that because it's so much easier to call and cancel on that card, and then they're going to be calling you, going, "Hey, you haven't paid or whatever," and you go, "Yeah," and I don't want your service anymore because for them it's a flip of a switch, right? If it's like Angie's List or if it's Home Advisor or whoever. Not to say obviously if you have a contract with somebody and you said I'll pay you $30,000 this year or whatever, you got to pay it, right? But it's just if they won't let you go, which I've had this happen where certain companies just will not let you go. They just, it's like, well, we need a written letter, and it needs to be notarized. And then it's going to take, 30 to 60 days for us to respond. And you're like, so I'm going to still pay you for a whole year? Like, well, we'll try to speed it up to maybe 9 months. And you're like, I don't, the day you called, you had a salesman, he took my number and everything and started charging me that day. So it's it's just crazy. So you want to have something that's not linked, so much where it's going to be an account that you're going to get whacked on. There's way more information out than there ever was back in the day. Oh, what's Tin Man going down here? Some true, some a lot of it is open, opinion based. Yeah. You just gotta weigh it all out. That is the truth. I asked this old lady one time. I used to it was really weird with her. I would she was across town from where I lived, and the first year I snowblowed her driveway, and I think I used her snowblower. It was easier that way. And so I charged her, right? And she seemed a little bit like, like 200, $300, whatever, right? And I started feeling bad for her. The next year, I just told her I was already making enough money. I said, you know what? I said, don't even worry about it. I said, you don't even need to pay me. I said, I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart. And she lost her husband and stuff. And she was just a sweet lady. And so I'm doing her, driveway and stuff. And I remember that year, she's at the end. She goes, "Well, what do I owe you?" And I said, "Nothing." I said, "I told you, And she goes, "Oh no." And I said, I said, you do whatever you want for a donation." And she dang near tripled my my number that I told her the year before. I'm like, what the heck are you doing? You ain't got to pay me this much money. And I thought that is the weirdest thing. I'm going to do everything as donations now. Maybe people just, they don't know what garage doors and stuff cost. I just do it as donation. A garage that's 1,200, they give me $5,000 for. I mean, obviously that doesn't work that way. But anywho, she told me one time. I said, "Hey," I said, you being an older lady and stuff, you've been through life a little more than I have. And I said, do you think the world is worse?" And I thought it was interesting that she told me, she said, "I don't think the world is worse." She says, there's always been bad things that have happened and stuff. But she says, "I think it's more accessible." And I thought, what do you mean? And she goes, well, she says, think about it. When something happened, back across the country or out of another, in another, another country, she said, it would take 3, 4, 6 days, whatever, for it to get into the newspaper. That's the only way we basically got it. And she said we would, have to read the newspaper. And I thought, wow, I thought that is kind of really ingenious that she says that because now, right, we all walk around with these tracking devices And it's instantaneous. Oh my gosh, stock market today. Oh my gosh, stocks went up. Target did good. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, Bitcoin's down. Oh my gosh, Bitcoin's up. And I've been seriously considering. There's a company here in actually Michigan that makes them that's working very close to what a Nextel was, and it's just basically a walkie-talkie. And I've been considering going that route. It's cheaper. When you purchase them, they're not really super expensive. I think they're $300 for a pair, and then I think it's $50 a year. And I thought about going with those, um, just because there's just so much noise out there. And I ain't gonna lie, I can go on here too, just I'm sure as anybody, and oh, I gotta look up something, I gotta write something down. That's why typically I don't use my phone to write my notes down, because I typically will get distracted. I'll all of a sudden see something on there, a notification, a estimate, whatever it is. I end up I found out I use one of these guys. This has always been the best. I get a big, I got a big notepad, super thick. I actually put everything in there. I put my goals, I put my what I got to do the next weeks. I'm a paper guy, because every time I go back there and I write stuff down, it doesn't distract me. I'm focused, because all of a sudden I'm a very like, oh, squirrel, So I write it down. I use the phone occasionally for some of that stuff, but it's just too easy to get drowned in the thing, and you can waste a lot of time on it too. So I don't know how good these are sometimes, because some of this stuff we're getting fed, what's being done? What actions are they telling us to take to help with this situation? You know what I mean? It's kind of like the whole, if you ever think about like with Fox News, right? I watch Fox News, and you're like, oh my gosh, okay. What are we going to do about it? How are we going to fix it? Where are we going to meet? Where do we bring pitchforks? Where do we bring money? Where do we, bring the tractors? Where do we bring whatever we got to do to help? And I think that's where maybe some of us it's gotten away from like the church and stuff. You think about it. Um, my yeah, Rich says love Nextel. Man, I tell you what, the Nextels were the bomb. I mean, I didn't think it's just one of those things I didn't think was ever going to go away, and when it did, I was really disappointed. Um, Nextel was like, but then they went to a newer version that was digital based, and it was horrible. It was real glitchy, and that's the only thing I do worry about these is that they are still cell tower based, and I don't know if they're going to be glitchy. Where the Nextel was just seemed like they always queued up, they always worked. They were on a lower frequency. I think that was just more robust, and the phones were tough. I mean, nothing like flipping that Nextel open and flipping it closed, and it turned the phone off when you wanted it to, and just did everything you wanted it to, except it obviously wasn't a very good text or email or anything like that, but it was very reliable, and I like that robustness. Let's see here. A sport for politics have become a sport for the cash, baby. That's the truth, man. It's like the older I get, it's like the more you realize what this stuff is doing. Uh, oh, sweet. Appreciate that, Rich. Good for you for homeschooling. I'm glad mine are done with school. Man, I tell you, I'm definitely like kind of ready for that stuff to be somewhat over, because it's tough, especially when they got um my kids got a lot of friends, and so it's tough when they're talking and they're doing certain things, and we make sure we put them in. They got a lot of sports they do, but it's tough when you're going against the grain. It really is. But it's like some of the people you talk to, and they tell you the problems they're having, or the teacher isn't this or teacher isn't that. It's kind of like, yeah, I think we're just going to keep sticking with the old homeschool. Too many. It's just too many things going on. If we could find a spot that's like a one room schoolhouse, like in a teacher that we kind of elect in type thing, like the community, I'd be okay with that. Like I'd be okay. Like I want them to feed the wood stove. You know what I mean? Like yeah, like it's your turn, uh, Bobby. It's your turn, Bobby, to feed the wood stove. It's your day or whatever. Like just something. I think these. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't think it's good. I just don't think it's good. Oh, that's right. Look at the Mr. Rich. Just hit the thumbs up, people. That's right. Appreciate that. I don't know what that one says. I don't know what's A and shush, whoosh, whatever that is from Mr. Rix, something. Yeah, do what Rich said. Oh, there you go. That's appreciate that. It says kill them with kindness, Dave. That's right. Kill them with kindness. It's tough. You gotta, the kids and stuff. You gotta, it's very methodical out there, isn't it? It's 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 a game, and we're all playing it, and obviously, I don't got it mastered by any means, but I'm always learning, and you just got to always be open minded. And I always tell the kids, and I tell everybody that I meet and stuff, I'm always like, you might not be able to control the situation, but you can always control your attitude. So I read that on a wall one time on a plaque, and I thought that's the best advice. You might spill the milk, you might get a flat tire, you might get in a car accident, but you can always control your attitude. And all you gotta do is watch a lot of cops videos. And the cops don't like when you're being erratic and you're being out of control, and you normally go in handcuffs. So you might as well just be level headed, explain what happened, whatever, and just do the best you can, and um, keep moving on. Uh, It's Michael, guys. I've been in management for years. I found I found that if you let the customer decide, if the it says what I've lost it for decide, if the time it takes less than you were ready to offer, and they are more generous than they offer it. Yeah, yeah, I believe that. Um, decide the times it takes less than you were ready to offer. Isn't that weird? It's just weird how sometimes I just blew my mind the first time when that lady gives me more money, and I'm like, she seemed like she kind of didn't want to spend like the couple $100. And I mean, obviously I was being very, and she passed away quite a few years ago. I think I only did her driveway for like 3 years or so. And so I was kind of bummed. But she was such a great lady, such a great heart. You know what I mean? Isn't that, you guys all have somebody like that in your life? You know what I mean? That's just, isn't it amazing? You probably like me, you got somebody that's the grump, and those ones you're like, you don't even want to be around. And then you got the ones that are just so, they give you anything. You know what I mean? They're so loving and great advice. Um Tanner. So I'm a pen and paper guy too. I agree, man. I just gotta have the pen and paper. I tell you, I feel like I'm not being watched by the system, because everything, remember, every stroke on this thing, even right now, it's listening. Everything is being, whatever. And I just always feel way more comfortable when I have just the old agenda, and I can just write stuff down. And I feel like I've had this where these have done the Houdini on me. I've lost one before. I've dropped them. They malfunction. And they're convenient. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's definitely convenience. I make a grocery list on the darn thing, and I can send it to the wife. It's awesome. It says, oh yeah, paper. The people who make my business cards also make a notebook. Oh, that's cool. With a business name. Oh, nice. Number, address. Wow. That's awesome. That's pretty cool. Maybe something, you can obviously give to customers if they got, everything, it looks professional, that stuff it adds up, makes it's kind of weird how you get like an aura to you as you do business. I've noticed that, what I mean? Like, I've go into many situations where it doesn't even like bother me. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, cause I'm the man, I'm not trying to be like, say that in a bad way. I feel confident. And it's funny how I remember when I was younger in the business, and I didn't feel confident. I was like, I don't got a really nice vehicle. I made my power tools. I got Ryobi instead of nice Milwaukee, which I didn't ever have Ryobi. Darn it. I always had DeWalt. And, but you know what I mean? Just that weird insecurity where like now it's like you walk in and it's like, I can just wear a plain shirt and it's like they don't even question me. It's just like, "Pff, whatever, man." It's like just push them through. Go away. I got this. You know what I mean? They can like feel that energy. It's just weird. Uh, let's see here. Electric. Pen and paper, number, address. I was taught at home. It says, and it was way better than the school system because you can learn way more real life. What do you think those kiddos do all the time? They ride with Uncle Dave. Well, with Dad Dave, and the nephews and stuff do too, actually. So that's we got a little kid that actually likes one of the kids' friends that I took on a trip on a job. Loved it. Loved it. Like wants to come back so badly to have a either sleepover or whatever, and ride along. It was really cool. And I said, this is probably once in a lifetime. You don't know, you know what I mean? Because you just know how jobs, you just got certain jobs you can or can't do it. And the opportunity was there. And so we took it. So it was really cool. But they do. Um actually my daughter right now, she's doing she does bracelets and packages them and stuff. Makes a really cool little setup. And we just stopped at one of our local um convenience stores. They don't sell gas or anything, just a little mom pop shop. And she's actually going to be selling. And the lady came up with such great ideas. She's like, she's looking at her package. She goes, do you got a website? And she's like, no. And I'm like, that's a good idea. And then she's, there's no name or anything. It's very, and she's got a price on it, but she's learning obviously, hey, you're going to make them for $3 and they're going to sell them for $5 because they got to make some money. And it's just, those are the real life things that happen. You know what I mean? That's every day. You know, um, as much as I don't want to say like I don't, but money's a tool. You know what I mean? And so you gotta know how to use it. And I agree. The more you can get them out and see the real life, instead of when this is embarrassing to say, but when I got out of school, I couldn't even write a check. I remember when I got my house, I had to write a check, for the utilities for I think it was the gas bill. I couldn't even write a check. I remember looking at the blanks. It doesn't tell you, it doesn't give you instructions. We didn't have Google, you know what I mean? And I literally had to call my mom and I'm like, hey, I was like, can you come over? And she's like, really? She's like, you didn't learn this? And I'm like, if they did, it wasn't every day. It wasn't social studies or science or, math or anything like. eh, She's like, all right, I'll come over, and she helped me through it. But I just never forget that. I was like, and then you think about as I got older, how much you use that, I mean, in business. And I mean, you know, I wish somebody would have taught me more about, the whole interest and how that stuff works, credit cards, all that stuff before I just jump into stuff. And then it's like, you know, with my ex-wife, it's like, well, we got to do is pay the interest, we just got to pay this one payment. I'm like, that doesn't pay off the principal, like you can't do that, you know, it's like, where was all this stuff? All this real life stuff. Skills because I can learn way more skills. Learn carpentry, plumbing. Ooh, yeah, that's cool, man. Some of those things are, you know, to learn like carpentry and plumbing, electrical. That's why my one nephew, I'll tell him, I'm like, dude, whatever you do, and he's got such a great mind. He's such an open minded. I tell him, I say, learn everything, everything. You know what I mean? You're doing body work or whatever, learn it, because I'm not, I don't feel confident in body work on cars and stuff, but electrical, anything you come across somebody, absorb the crap out of them because there's so many people in your life that will know that, it's like I value people that mop floors. You know what I mean? Because I guarantee you that guy knows the chemicals, the mixture, what mop heads to buy, what wringer to use, how to stroke that thing. You know, he knows how to, and he could show you because he's been doing it for 10, 20 years. You know what I mean? He probably knows something that you don't know. So always, never downgrade anybody. You know what I mean? Always, they probably know something you don't. Uh, Dan, what would Jesus do? Jesus needs to come back. Do his business. You like it when your phone answers your own. I like it when your phone answers your own questions. I like when the phone, you'd say stuff around it and then you start getting all the ads, right? That's always great. Oh my gosh. It's really weird because I still get people today. Um, some of you guys and not so much you guys, but I just had my banker. She calls me, right? And gotta have a good banker. Gotta have a couple of them actually. And she's calling me and she's calling me from a different number. I don't recognize the number. And she tells me, she's like, then she texts me, right? And it's like, why don't you answer your phone? And I'm like, my phone is always on silent. I don't know what it is. I think I got burned so bad through the business that, and plus I don't have to anymore, because we have, wonderful secretaries and I mean, they do an amazing job. Um, but it seemed like it never failed. That darn phone would ring in front of a customer, and I'd have customers that were, they'd go, you can take that, and I go, no, I'm here with you right now in the moment. I'm, here to service you, and it's gonna have to wait. And so that irritation got so bad at some point, that I just started turning my phone and I'd tell people, I say, look, you need to text me and almost make an appointment because my phone's always on silent. And it's not to be rude or disrupt, it's just for my sanity. You know what I mean? Because you get so many phone calls and it's like that vortex I always talk about in the business that you can start getting you realize that it's like every phone call is like somebody's they have a problem. You know what I mean? And it's like it's almost like you get to a point where you're just going, everybody's going, I got a problem. I got a problem. And you almost want to just blow back, right? And just go, yeah, I got a problem too. You know, you haven't paid your last freaking bill, or, my truck is on its last leg, or I need to get tires, or I'm on the side of the road with a flat tire, right? But you can't do that. You can't do that. So I always looked at it like I'm training them that it's like, if you want to get a hold of me, these are the protocols. You either one, just text me and I'll see it because I look at my phone, constantly through the day and I'll see it. And it's going to shorten up everything because I've had it, you answer the phone. And like I said, if it's not a number you recognize, it's some weird Google garbage. Um, Most time I don't have a lot of people programmed into my phone, so I can look back at the text and I can see, because I don't either have a name or something. So it's just you can just everything can be more like, well, this is what I said versus, well, that's what I thought you said. You know what I mean on the phone. So like with the real estate, I like emails because then everything's documented or text. So I could say, no, I did, say this. Um, so that's why I also look at it and I'm like, "Ooh," if you did the next till kind of, how do you don't have no documentation. So I don't know if it's a real winner. There, you like to think of it, but every time I always put the phone away, it's like it never fails that you're at a family thing or something. You want to take a picture, right? They got you roped in. It's like sugar. It's like sugar. Oh, I need GPS. I need to go somewhere. Oh man, where's my phone? You know what I mean? Like it's amazing how they compact everything in there to make it just says you like it says what it says here. Life skills. That's right, Mr. Rich. Honestly, I wish I would have never stepped foot in high school. I feel like I would have farther ahead with life skills than wasted 4 years learning nothing. I, yeah, I unfortunately for me, school is like prison. I couldn't wait for the bell to ring. I remember our last day there. I remember, busting open those doors and it was like freedom, and I was so ready because I was already working other jobs and it's you make some friends, there's definitely that. Um and I'll see them through, whatever. I see them through the, Facebook or something, or whatever it is. I'm not even most of them, right? I'm not even close friends. My friends are a lot of uh, from all kinds of different schools and backgrounds or whatever else that are, business owners and stuff like that, or um, just, different, and I don't know. I don't know. I guess I was watching something and it says how it's conditioning you. And if you think about it, um, the kings and queens, the stuff was made, so you'd be a good basically a good worker. If you think about it, because how do you got a buzzard, right? Sit down and shut up. Don't, we're doing this curriculum. We're not, don't use your creative, right? Because we're all different, right? Even you right now watching, you're different than me. You got a skill that I don't have a skill, and I got a skill that you don't have, right? We're all different. So in a nutshell, like in business, right? You're kind of got a bus and you're trying to put people in the right seat, or you're running a ship, and one guy's more of a gearhead, so he needs to be the engineer, but he's a good leader. You got the guys that are good at fishing and know where to set the pots or whatever. So you know what I mean? Like we don't encourage that. It's more like, you sit down and then, you think about it, in life, it's not that way. If you fail, you know, just in school, because if you fail, you're a failure, right? But in life and business, it's not, I fail every day, man. And long as you're learning from your failure, it's not really failing. You got to, you learn from your mistake. I mean, what was it? Edison and the light bulb. How many times did he fail until he, invented a light bulb? And it's really funny to see how many guys, the Zuckerbergs and all this, that went to school and they dropped out of college or whatever, that, turned into something. You know what I mean? Um, there's something weird about that, I think. Oh, says we did have a business. Oh, business class. Okay. But it was very blah. Says how to write a check, balance a check, some moves, business moves, but it changed throughout the years to what to invest in. Yeah, it seems like we had a little bit of investing. I remember that. They'd have us like sign up for a fake account or something like that, and we'd play with it. But it wasn't in depth. I feel like we should have been focused more on maybe some more investing, understanding the interest rates, understanding the checkbook, understanding the money, the system, instead of so much of the, history. Um, I don't know. It's just tough, because when you look at the real life, what you deal with every day, right? I look at this from, young people to middle-aged people, myself to older people, and typically they're concerned about money. I mean, there's one thing they always, it's, well, I got to get a new car. I got health issues. And unfortunately, if you have money, it makes it a lot easier, right? But obviously, it's not everything, because if you don't have your health, I mean, look at Steve Jobs, right? I mean, poor guy. I mean, all the money in the world, right? He probably didn't ever have to work another day in his life, but you know, cancer took him out. And so, that's the harsh reality, that there's a balance. And so you always just got to find what your balance is. It's tough. It's really tough. But yeah, they say taxes is the highest thing you ever pay in the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. And I think they're right. You know, it's amazing when you sit there and think about it. It's like termites, isn't it? It's like, slowly by slowly just chewing away, and you see how much stuff is combined. It's just crazy. It says that it was a Mr. Tin Man. It's more respectful when out. It's more respectful when out on a job, when the phone isn't constantly ringing. When you're at a customer's place, give them the attention. Yeah, that's very true. You know what I mean? I see it. I had a sales guy that he didn't really do that. And it was like I was telling him, I'm like, leave your phone in the truck. Like, if you can't handle it, like when you were here, like just put that thing, like, so you don't even see it or hear it. Just put it in the truck. Um, because at the time for me, it'd get my blood boiling. You know what I mean? It never failed. It was just there's some kind of magnet to this stuff. Like working in retail, I've noticed years ago when I used to do oil changes. We'd have a spell right for like an hour or something, 45 minutes. Nobody would come in, and all of a sudden one car would come in, and then another car would come in, another car would come in, four cars come in at like the same time, and I'm just every time they came in, I'm always waiting for them to be like, oh yeah, yeah, that's my neighbor. Oh, that guy lives on the next street over. Yeah, we all called each other. We decided to come in. I'd be like, okay, finally, that makes sense. But it never was. It was just these were just random different people, and they would just come flooding in, and it was like, where were you like 45 an hour ago? Like we had nobody here, nobody, and now you all come in at the same time. What the heck? And it just never failed. You'd have that really nice conversation going, and all of a sudden there's your phone, blah, 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 make it, and you're like, oh, well, anyways, I don't want to take anymore. You're like, oh man, I was really enjoying the conversation. Like we were having a good one. You can take that. No, oh, so is that how you're going to treat me? Like, you're not going to take my phone call? Like, you know what I mean? Like, well, I don't want that in there. I just don't. I'd rather have it just, look back. Oh, I got a missed call them back. Sorry, I was with the customer. What can I do for you? What do you need? I still got a lot of, I still got some of the guys and stuff, they'll still, they don't, I guess I haven't trained them good enough, but they'll still talk to me about something. And I'm always like, do you got a picture? I know you got a smartphone. Like, do you have a picture? I'm like, just send me a picture and I'll know exactly where it's located. I'll know exactly what it is. Like, send me a picture and then send me a description. Say, hey, we got a problem. This is what's going on. Because then my brain can just automatically go to that versus I'm sitting there going, what? They're talking about a hydraulic line, or they're talking about where? What? Like on the vehicle, on the piece of equipment, where are we even at? Because everybody's terminology is different. It's kind of like you might call it foam stop. I call it vinyl seal. Some people, was it foam stop, vinyl seal? What other words are for it? Trim. I know there's a couple more. I mean, there's for weather seal, goes around the garage door, the perimeter seal, like all kinds of words for it. Oh, you want foam stop? Yeah, whatever. I want that stuff. Oh, okay. When you're calling your vendors, depending on what they call it. I want backhangs. I want verticals. I want drops. I want perforated ankle. I want, what is it? Oh man, the joys. It says only a good advantage is that the phone rings. It gives you the exit for those customers. Yeah, that is true. That is true. There is no doubt about that. If you need that, uh, yeah, you can just be like, "Sorry, I gotta like take this. I'm gonna have to let you go." You know, they customers, like I said, they can. I never had too many that really talked. I've had like I remember the one I was doing towards the end there. She was a nice old lady. I sat down at our table and stuff, and heck, she was gonna make me coffee and all that. And I was like, nah. I was like, I'm good. She was so thankful I came out there and got our door working. I don't know if she was a little bit older than me, but just super nice. Plus, it was cold out, so it felt nice to sit down there for a minute just to get kind of warmed up. uh, worker bees, wrestling with the only good thing that came from high school. I remember falling. What does it say? Failing. Oh, failing geometry, and now I can build houses. Garage door track to open. That's funny. Isn't that weird? I did a lot of resistance in school. I think it's because like they're trying to force you, and I was like, I'm not going to be forced. Where now it's like I'm like, oh my gosh, and we have so many things that are at our disposal now that makes things so much easier. I mean, you can look at ROIs, you can do percentages online. I mean, just so many things I would have died for that typically they don't um, they don't do anything. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how to explain. Like, well, what I'm trying to say is the people don't do anything with it. You know what I'm saying? Like we have all this stuff, right? Like I look at this and I'm like, but a lot of people, not you guys tuning in, but a lot of people, like they're getting dumber. They're just getting dumber and dumber and dumber. And I'm like, you got so much at your disposal. You got books. I mean, when I had to do business, only thing I could do business to help myself in business was go to Barnes and Noble. Go to Barnes and Noble and get a book. Couldn't read the book, right? Only you can read the little description in the front or back page, the back of the book. And you have to spend, the 12, 20, 30 some dollars, right? For the book. Take it home, read the book and go, man, this book was garbage. Or maybe get a few nuggets out of it. But it was a lot of it was just blah, blah, blah. Or stuff you already knew. That's how, now click, click, click. I mean, you just got so much. You want to know how to do your taxes? Go online. You want to know how to fix your phone? Go online. You want to know how to fix your hot water tank? Go online. Yeah. I mean, and it's like, but I see more people, and that's why I kind of get like irritated sometimes when I was doing that's why I do the preventive maintenance versus, when I fix those photo eyes, because people would be like, oh, you're going to charge me $65. And all you did is twist the photo eye. And I'm like, yeah, because see, here's the thing. You got a smartphone in your hand. I can see it. It's in your pocket. You could have looked at your phone and done the same job I did, but you were lazy. You didn't want to do that. And you called me for a service. So I came out and provided a service. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? But then it's like if I sit there and I massage and I spray everything and I make everything, sound so much better, then it's okay. But, it's kind of like the whole oil change, right? They got to check the tires. They got to check the oil. They got to do all that, do the oil change. Like that. So Tanner says, yeah, Dave's video is pretty addicting. I appreciate that. And like I said, if you guys got any questions or whatever, you can always shoot me an email. You can always, comment on the video. That's why I come on here because it's really a two-way street here. I learn, who was the guy that messaged today? And he was talking about the bump springs, the bumper springs I put on. And he was saying, he goes, he goes, I always put them on top. I never put them in the track. And I'm like, well, hell, I've always put them in the track and never on top. Maybe that's the way they're supposed to go. I mean, they always work the way I do it. And I've always gone through 2 layers of steel that way, typically because of the angle in the back. But they never fit. But I never tried the top. And I thought, I might just learn something. You know what I mean? So next time I have to do one, I might put one on the top and go, heck, this is actually working out pretty good, because they don't come with instructions. And so, and who's to say they're right or wrong? As long as it's pushing the door to save the cables, kind of does the same thing. So his way might be the right way. Mine might be the wrong way, but he opened up my mind. And that's what I love about this channel is because I get to talk to you guys. I get to, it just opens up my mind where I'm like, or I see what you guys are doing for projects. You guys send me videos, pictures, and I don't know if the one guy's on here, obviously that mounted that winch. Like I said, I always say to the front of the scissor lift. And I'm like, dude, I never would have thought of that. And I'm like, I think that's not a bad idea. I was like, cause then now your lift is always ready to go on any trailer. It's got battery power. When I did mine years ago, I always had the battery on the trailer and the wires they wanted to short out cause they're always in motion, right? With the trailer tipping. I just thought, man, that's not a bad idea. Like, I think that's a good idea. So I love it. Cause now it's like I look at it and if I talk to somebody or even in the shop and it's like, well, we got this problem. I'm like, try this. Well, I never thought of that. I know, me neither. What is this? I had to use I don't know what you got there, Rich. Was it I can't say that word. Come on, man. Just made it out of high school. He's a bebus. I can't say what that I did not apply myself. I believe the teachers own words. Yeah, it's tough, man. It's weird now because now that I'm older and with the kids and stuff, they go in there, right? And you see some of these teachers and you almost know their backgrounds and stuff. And you're like, wow, this teacher is a little woo. And it's like, now you think about when I went to school, I go, yeah, I guess there was a few. Heck, I remember I think it was the gym teacher and the health lady, they were kind of mingling and that was kind of a little thing across, they were both single and it's like, that was the drama in school, and so it's kind of weird. Did not apply, says, oh yeah, I forgot to say that I always put my pusher springs on top. Like I said, I didn't even ever think of it. Like I said, I always figured they go in the track because my mind, right, it's in the track, and that way it's blocking the track. So even if it somehow slipped over the pusher spring, the door came up, it would still hit, is my mind, I guess, because I'm always on commercial doors. You have to stop the door. You know what I mean? That's just how my mind works. Because when I had that one customer that blew the, 2 or 3 panels out of the back because we only had little bolts, that's why I'm always like the bumper springs, because that's just my mind. I'm like, I can never have this door come out of the track again because it was such a nightmare. I want carnage. I want damage. I want rollers all bent up. Not really, but that I want something to go, who in the heck threw this door up or used a forklift or whatever I mean, my goodness, you went through 3 rollers and hinges and they're all bent and thrown out. Like I want, you know what I'm saying? Like I want carnage. Like that's why I'm also like all I'm big on the garage door when you pull it out of the header, because I don't know if I still got a picture. I should do a video on it, but I got one that was bent like a V because the guy was driving one of the forklifts that was for a steel company, and they're like really big. They got big booms on them, and he thought he would take a shortcut and go outside the building to go in the other door instead of going between the steel the steel racks where they pull their stuff. And I remember, I mean, he just blew into this thing, and he's like, "Oh, it's because the garage door was down." I'm like, "No way, dude." I'm like, "The garage door is a foot above the header. You damaged the door. The header is blown out of this. Like, no." And so what I've always learned is I like that cushion. So when they say whatever they hit, I can go, I see damage on the header of the door, the header, the red steel, and go, nope. Whatever you sent through here was too big. It wasn't because the door was down. Because if you leave the door down 2 or 3 inches, they're going to claim the door malfunctioned, right? That's what I've had happen. I've had it with even homeowners, you know. Well, the door malfunctioned. It didn't go up all the way. Well, regardless, did you check? I mean, if you run over a kid, I'm not saying it's, the kid should have been there, but it's still your fault. You got to watch what you're doing. It's just people do some weird stuff, man. Those pull cords, got to watch those pull cords, man. I learned that the hard way. I learned it the hard way because the secretary tells me it's for a car wash. And I remember we left it down because they were having problems with the opener malfunctioning. And so we left it down. Well, a blazer came through there and it caught that thing. It ripped 3 panels down. And I remember she acted like it wasn't her fault, but she goes, "Oh," she goes, the door, something's wrong with the door, and she didn't make it sound like it was that big a deal. And I'm like, okay, and it's Thanksgiving Eve. And I'm like, I probably should go look. Now, mind you, this place is, it's 45 minutes, an hour away, one way. I was like, I better go up there, a good customer, and there's like no panic though. There's no like, dude, we need somebody up here or pictures of any sort. I go up there and I see those 3 panels hanging. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm all by myself on Thanksgiving Eve. I'm like, so luckily the dude that was helping the place, he was over there smoking doobies like crazy, just smelled like it in there. And I'm like, you. And he looks around the corner. He's like, what? I'm like, you. I'm like, you're going to be my helper. I was like, I need you to do this. And I need you to do it now, soldier. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, I can't do this by myself. I'm not calling in for Mayday for one of the guys to come up. I just needed some muscle. And so he helped me. He did a good job for what he was. Let's see here. Oh yeah, it says, do you have any advice on bidding a door install? I have a customer that ordered full view glass. What? Doors from China? What? Come on now. Tell us who it is. Who's the manufacturer? From China, man. This might get interesting. I always figured if I could just go to China and buy cheap labor. I bet some of these guys in the comments, might have some better advice on the bidding part. because I'm very basic with my bidding. I'm a paper and pen guy. I take my cost, right? My fixed cost, fuel, labor, time, and then you can kind of go from there because I don't know what your area and stuff is and what you're worth. Are you worth, $20 an hour? Are you worth 30, 50, and then you kind of go off there. Some people do square foots. I've seen that in the comments. But with full view, that's a different animal. Is there any high lift track in it? That's always a big thing. Is there high lift? Is it full vertical? Do you got to bring a scissor lift? Don't forget like the little things like, you should probably clean the windows after you're done or fingerprints and all that. If it's going to be a nice, and don't sell yourself short because just remember a lot of times with high end doors is like high end problems. So scratches that aren't your problem, the customer's going to have to be, I've done too many of those where, they're heavier. So you're going to you might need a helper. But I always like to get my cost because I always look at that. And that way, if somebody threatens me and they go, well, I got a guy that said he'll do $1,000 cheaper. And I go, okay, I can come back and either look at my numbers and go, there ain't no way. I'll be doing it at cost. I won't even make no money. Then what the hell's the point of it? So I just, nope. Or I can come back and go, well, we're not real busy right now. I need the work. I'm just starting out. Yeah. I mean, we'll still make some money. But just remember, keep in the back of your mind about obviously any callbacks, buffer 2 or 3 of those in there. So, but there's no, I don't think there's no proven science. One thing I did hear a long time ago that always helped me on a quick whim is I heard this from a builder one time, he sold building supplies, but he said, typically, if you take the material, double it. Obviously you're doing multiple doors on the same job site. That can vary, but just sometimes, if the door's 3,000, it's $3,000 labor. If you want quick numbers, that's how I always looked at it. You know what I mean? If you want quick numbers, and normally I can back them down, I'm pretty expensive. You know what I mean? Like that's going to be a pretty good, but there is things you forget, fuel, scissor lift, time, cleaning supplies, angle is a big one. I've gotten eaten up on angle, big long drops, perforated angle, nuts and bolts, sawzall blades for cutting the angle. There's just a lot of things that can start kind of eating at you that you're going, wow, there's $100 here, there's $200 there, there's $300 there. What if they don't have everything? Missing hinges. Are you going to provide them? What cost? Are they going to feel comfortable? So let's say here, Dakota. I would double your square foot price on that one. Ordering a door from China is crazy dumb, and you will probably be married to the thing. Ooh, that's some good advice right there, Mr. Tanner. I agree. He does have a very good point that I didn't think about. You might be married to it. There is some weird stuff about that you get married into. There is no doubt. No doubt. And then it's like, why are they buying it from China? Because it's so cheap. And then who's going to be, and that's probably one of those jobs where I look at it and I go, once the truck leaves, like there's no warranty on this. You know what I mean? So it's your baby. You call me back out, it's another service call, and you can use discretion. Obviously, if you didn't tighten something up, it's rattling, but obviously the glass starts breaking, the frame's cracking. Told you that's why my prices were so much more, or that's why when you bought it from here locally, that door is okay. So Dakota says that door is an 18x8 full view glass. I want to check out the door and the hardware. Seems a bit fishy, or is it flimsy? Flimsy. Sorry, it's hard to read. And if Dakota, if you get the chance, I'd love to, if you email me at the Dave A, I normally put it in the description below, the Daveadubson@gmail.com. throw me some pictures, man. I mean, um, that would be crazy to see because I've never seen one from China. I'm sure there's stuff that comes from China that they build here in the States or like Canada, but man, that just seems crazy to me. I'd love to see. Yeah, I would definitely. I wouldn't hesitate to go check that one out for sure. You know what I mean? See, see what the hardware is like, springs, torsion tube. Just get a feel for it if it seems. Because I think you could. I don't know. I'm already getting like the weird. I'm getting the shakes on this one, where you could. Um, yeah, like Tanner said, you could get married into it. Um, you might start installing it, realize they short you on screws. The screws are different size. Magnet bits. Um, you know, and then what's the customer like? I mean, in a relationship or something, is it like they're going to be, how you installed this door? Well, it's kind of making noise now. And you're like, yeah, you think? I mean, did you see that they use tin can, bearings inside, they're already rusting because they came overseas or whatever, I mean, just all kinds of little things that you don't have a leg to stand on. But on the one side, it's not yours. You know what I mean? You install it. And like you said, you just kind of go, well, once the truck leaves, just remember service call is $65, $120, whatever you charge. Yeah. So if you want me to come back, because sometimes people don't realize that, that like when we provide something, like for us anyways, we're going to back that puppy up until the end of time, especially if we did something wrong or the vendor did something wrong. We come out and warranty it. There's basically never any extra charge unless they do something, that's not warranted related, but you take care of them, and that's what you're paying for. Um, but if you want to be the cheap, it's kind of, well, sorry, you went the cheap route, and unfortunately, I don't know this product. Oh, what does it say? It says, I've only been in the garage door business for only 4 years. So between learning from the owner who's been in the business for 40 years and it's been great getting different perspectives. Yeah, I bet everybody's got really good perspectives. Um, in the business. You know what I mean? It's very unique. I think a lot of you guys, come to this platform, this channel because, I see a lot of other guys, they'll talk, they're doing product and stuff, which is fine. I might even be doing I thought about doing some product and doing like some giveaways with them. But I like to tell you more about the business side of it and kind of I try to paint it as a good and bad, but I just want you to be informed of what you're getting into versus, oh, look at me. I got the flashy truck. Oh, the business is great. Oh my gosh, you guys are just, we're crushing it. And you guys are a bunch of idiots. You don't know what you're doing. And you'd make millions. Like every time I come across this one guy, I've never watched, I see his ad. I always keep hearing about this A1 guy and I don't know anything about him. I don't know if he's good, bad. I don't. I feel like I want to stick my finger down my throat when I watch him because I just like he's talking about some CRM that's some advertising, and I'm always like, he makes it like he's in a nice office and all this, and I'm thinking, yeah, like okay, right, right, and this CRM like fixed all my business, right? Not to say like it doesn't help, but right, like it just I don't know, man. It just seems over the top. You know what I mean? That's what I get. I get the Grant Cardone feeling, like what are you selling me here? And I like to be more the realistic, the guy that's like well guys, these are the problems you run into, cuz and I do it all. I make mistakes all the time and it's fun. Some of it you win, some of it you lose. As long as you can put some bacon, maybe a little bit of butter at the end of the day on the table, you feel like you made a little win. does it say? But 4 years, man. Wow. 4 years in the business. Man, I was a young buck. When I was a young buck for 4 years, man, I was running around like crazy. I'm thinking of not even giving up. I'm assuming they're giving up a warranty or giving a warranty, but I'm wondering about liability. Ooh, if something were to go wrong with the hardware, and cause property damage to hurt somebody. Ooh, well, probably Dakota, that would fall into more or less like if you have this is a great question. And I don't know if I'm the best to answer this, but I look at it like two different ways. I look at it like this could be you could possibly have them, you could sign, have a little paper that's drawn up that it says, I'm not reliable, I'm not warranty. That's kind of blend it in there, not real strongly, but you're not responsible for this by any sort. I know that only goes so far. It just really it always comes down to the person, how much they want to pursue you. Um but for like us, like my business, it would be we already have the insurance. But if you're kind of a guy that's just starting out in a sense, I call it chucking a truck. You might not want, that might be a little bit too risky. You know what I'm saying? Because they might have more time and more money on their hands than what it's worth. I'm just putting this out here as perspective. Um, but I think once you go there and look at it, you're gonna get a kind of a grasp. Like, it does have built-in struts. Because what is it? It's 18 by 8. So anytime you get 18 by 8, to me, even if it's a standard door, those are kind of luggers, man. Those things got some, like, when you're lifting it, it's kind of they got some weight. So, you want to make sure obviously your back hangs and stuff. You're using the, long leg bolts if you need to, because there's drywall or anything like that. You got to make sure it's anchored good. That's not going to fall out of the sky. But I, I've never come across that where somebody, has chased me down. It's more or less they come down to they want you to come out and fix it basically for free. You know what I mean? Or for very little. And I think as long as you are installing it, per the manufacturer, which it's generically a door, so it should go together pretty much like a regular garage door. Obviously, if there's something funny in there, like they want to use some kind of weird struts or brackets, or the hinges are way crazy, yeah, then I might shy away. Um, but like I said, if you got the insurance, I wouldn't steer away for that so much, because you're covered in a sense. But if you're not heavy, I think you personally need to go out there and you need to look at it and, take a little video of it, take some pictures of it. And that way you can also, if you go home, you can think about it, uh, and say, let me go back to the shop or wherever, and let me get you, some numbers, and let you know what I mean? I don't think I'd go in there too direct and be like, oh, I can do this and I can do it for that. Just think about it. And if something feels like it's off, you know, it doesn't, looking at the jam to see if what's there, if it's a new build or all that, what's the jam like? I mean, you got a lot of extra stuff you got to do. What's the terrain like? What's the driveway like? Is it sloped? Is it just all kinds of little variables? Are they going to have weather seal that matches? Because that could be goofy, right? If the blackness or whatever, maybe it's a bronze color or something, and you might have a hard time finding weather seal. There's just a lot of little things. But I think you'll know once you start talking to them. You'll get the perception, and they'll say, "Well, I saved $10,000 off, this," and they talk real highly of this, and you go, "Wow, this is better than any American made, or German made one I've looked at. Golly, this is really nice and heavy duty." Um, you know, I can always tell a lot typically by, phone conversations, and if you go there. Um, unless you can have them send you some pictures and you can tell right from the get go, you go, oh heck no, you know, like no way. But I would definitely make sure it has like, I would say with that big, it's got to have struts of some sort built in or struts provided. And they better tell you where they go. I mean, my brain goes right to everything strut. Every section has strut, but then with it being windows, are they going to be like, I don't want no strut in the top. Can you just leave these off? No, no, too much flex. Do 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 do. What's it say? I love to start filming some of the crazy stuff we get into, but for privacy reasons, yeah, yeah, I get it. The filming. Tell them it's for your safety. Say it's for my safety. I don't want, kind of like you got a dash cam, you know, I got a dash cam. It's for my safety. I get it though. I get it. Uh, Abyss is a hand calculator tool. Oh, for what's this ancient times? Run. Oh man. Missing parts, broken parts, slow bolt from missing parts, broken parts. Rich. Missing parts, broken parts, slow bolt from China. Oh man. Oh, cover your ash. I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Uh, so just remember, guys, being the cheapest guy is not always the best. Good work is not cheap, and cheap work is not good. Yes, that is very true. I got that sticker that's has that triangle or whatever. It's like the pyramid that says if you want it cheap, it won't be good, and if you want it fast, it won't be cheap. And there's a lot of that's why I mounted it up at the shop. There's a lot of truth to that because trust me, trust me. I am one that has done it so many times that it's embarrassing to even think about how many times that I have done stuff, to either build a relationship or the next job we do, they always feed you some line of crap, you know what I mean? Well, that's not the next job yet. We're talking today, buddy, and I need to get paid today. I need my money today. I need to invest my money today because next week, next month, next year. Hell, I don't know what gas prices are going to be. I don't know what inflation is going to be. I don't know what taxes are going to be. You know what I mean? So I need now. I need it now and right now. So we need to work on now, not what I'm going to get you, what you're going to try to feed me, because you're just going to get the next guy that's going to be, $100 cheaper. That's all you care about. I've been there a lot. So you got to watch. You got to watch your ash. That's right. Remember, guys, being the hardware looks familiar, just a different variation on it. Says the springs hardware look up to spec. Hmm. Well, like I said, Dakota, that's not, biggest thing would be, my first, like I said, my brain goes to struts. What are these built-in struts? Like I said, if you ever get pictures of it or whatever, if you got the pictures, like I said, send them to the Daveadubson@gmail.com. It's in the description below. Like I said, I'd love to see it because I'm just curious. Because plus, if you can get any intel on it, like how much they paid for it, I mean, that'd be awesome. Or what place in China they got it from, that'd be great. Because I'm always like, you know, I'm always interested in stuff that, if it's how do I say this? There's some things I think that are just really overpriced, and I'm always like, are they getting like huge profit margins off this? And we just have to buy this? Like what have I been buying? I can't even think of what I've just been buying lately. Maybe it's everything. I just keep thinking of stuff and I'm like, every time I buy it, I'm always like, man, they gotta be making a killing on this. It just seems too much. I know like jewelry. Jewelry is one of them. It's like 300% markup. Wife used to work at jewelry. And yeah, I was like 300% markup. Hmm. That's pretty nice. Hard to call customer service or call manufacturer when you don't speak the language. Maybe you do, but I'm going to assume you don't like normal American. I agree. I agree. But that's also, that's why you might also like with Dakota, he might have more service calls because you might get into it and then you go, I didn't realize that we're missing, all the center hinges or certain rollers or whatever, and maybe you can't make it work. But more than likely you probably could, but you could just always tell them, say, well, sorry, this ain't my product. Yeah, they're missing like whatever, or the glass section's damaged or something, and it's got chips or whatever. That's up to you. You know what I mean? If you want to call them, I will come back out for a service call, a fee to change out this section for you, and then the customer is going to be like, oh my gosh, they were such a pain to deal with from the get go. Now I got to pay you more money. But that is what it is, right? Because not your product. So that's up to them. That's how I look at it. And sometimes that's kind of nice, especially if you're kind of a small band. Um, you can just kind of walk up and do the, uh, you know, sorry, we got a problem. This isn't mine. I would have never bought this piece of crap. Like, guess you're gonna have to call them. But of course, I guess they could always be like, "Will you call 'em for me?" No, no, I do not have the receipt. I don't have the authority. I don't even know what this is called. I don't speak the Chinese. But it'd be interesting to see because it wouldn't surprise me that they do something and they can always make it cheaper. I've installed doors. What does it say? It says Naito here says I have installed doors from China for a few customers. And honestly, they were at least better than AMAR, probably CHI level. See, that's right. That's why we got to be open minded. That's why I'm curious because like I said, sometimes you're surprised. It's um, all it takes is a certain manufacturer to get like they're just busting on it, right? They got it down. They got they might add more metal to it because they haven't figured out how to pinch all the pennies off of that thing yet. You just never know. I just always look at that stuff, and the biggest thing would be for me is I would just, unless you're going to start becoming a dealer of them or something, um, everything's on the customer, not on me. You know what I mean? Like, you do what you got to do. You know, I'll install it for you. I have no problem, but I think it'd be cool. Honestly, I'd like to see it. I mean, it's unfortunate. I'm not like a big everything's so global now. I mean, it's like I'm watching the thing yesterday or whatever, and they're talking about, the Ford Maverick is made in Mexico, and the what is it, the Toyota something it was, is made in the US. I'm just like, yep, that's how I've been told years ago too. Like my dad, when he worked in the automotive industry, he'd tell me, he says, it's amazing. People don't realize, most of the, like, General Motors and everything, there's so many parts that are obviously being shipped over and yes, they're assembled, in a sense. And so it is. I'm not saying Toyota is all, but he said, you'd be amazed if you look at the sheets, if you read the small print stuff that says how much this is built, in the US versus, other places. And it's like, he's like, it just blows my mind how much stuff is, and that's why you don't know. And that's why stuff can change. Heck, I don't even know where LiftMaster's being built. I think it was in Mexico at one time. It could be in China by now. Um, I think the linears were. I think the commercial openers linears. Heck, the residential were. I think, if I remember right. So you just, and unfortunately, they want cheap, and it's sad because we do it to ourselves. You know, I'm one of them too. I try to, you try to support the local, the small, the USA, but then it's like they always word it right. It's like assembled in the US, and it's like, okay, where's the rest been from? Assembled. You know, garage door training school guy on YouTube. Can't stand him. That's why I kind of thought about him. That's just I haven't dived into him. Think he is. Whoops! It moved on me. It says garage door training school. Can't stand him. Think He's from Cali. I think he is. Oh, from Cali. Always sitting in his used. Oh gosh, now he's sitting in a used BMW with his stacks of cash, telling people they can make all the money. Well, I watched a little video of his that one time, and I think he was in a service truck, I think. But I remember he went out and he did I think it was like a broken spring. He did two springs, and I swear it was like somewhere in like the $2,000 range. He's like, you can make all this money. And I'm sitting there going, What? Where's this customer? Like you're charging like I know California. I know they're higher. I don't doubt that. Mr. SOS would be a good guy to answer on that. But I'm like, what? I'm like, no. And I watched a few more and I was like, I have this gut feeling I just don't feel like I trust this guy. Like he's just blowing smoke up my hiney. And then when it's, once you're trained, I'm like, trained. I'm like, what do you get trained on? Like, if you guys are going to come get trained by me or I'm going to train you, like, I'm going to come to your doorstep. I'm going to work with you. You know what I mean? And then you're going to have like support for life because we're going to be like best friends for life. I want you to succeed. I want you to do good. I want you to, know the ins and outs, not just, oh, I'm going to bring you into a class. I'm going to show you how to wind a spring and I'm going to charge you $1,200 for it. And now that you know how to wind a spring, you're good to go. Give you a pat on the back. Have a nice day. I just can't see that. I don't know. That's just me. But I understand a lot of stuff. They're getting into where they want to sell you something. Um, and sometimes I'm telling you, get out while you can. No. Oh, it's just all what you want to do. And that's what I like about when I watch other people or stuff. I like to take nuggets, and I understand that their personalities or their views are different than mine, but I like to try to pull nuggets out and go, wow, what he said or what they did or how they did it. That's a smart way to do it, and or whoa. Um, I got a hook on for I watched this one guy, I think he's a truck driver. And he's probably about my age, and I love watching him because I used to I had my CDL, well, I still do, and I watch him and I see all the struggles and I go, yeah, I go, that's one business I'm not getting into. I'm not getting no trucking because the rates are crappy, the brokers lie, and I love seeing all that stuff, and well, the crane operator's not here, so we can't get our load, and we've been here for 4 hours, and I'm like, yep, yep. Yep. And they're just the great, characters. I just enjoy watching them, but I kind of thrive off the struggle a little bit. I want them to do good, and make money and all that, but it's just that was an avenue at one time I thought maybe I was gonna go down before I ever got into the garage doors. And I'm glad I didn't because you're away and the time and stuff from the family. So it's just I don't know, little nuggets like that. Oh, it says our customer service. I lost my spot. Yeah, it says garage door. Oh yeah, so here's Tanner. I've seen a few videos of that guy, Tanner. He's definitely scamming both his viewers and customers. Yeah, there's something going on. Maybe I can get like I should go part of his course so I can like show my face and be like, I don't know nothing about garage doors. What are you going to teach me? And then I can be like behind, I'll be like talking to the customer, be like, you got screwed. Like, did you really pay this? Or was this hyped up? Like kind of like undercover boss. And like come out there with a mic, like that one guy does with like sex predators. He's like, what were you thinking? You know, why did you come here? How did this happen? He'll be like, uh, uh, why do you drive around and use BMW? Answer. Our audience needs to know. Yes, sir, Nitro. I can't even. It says make it through the video and to brag about it. Oh, but yes, your customers to see. I'm pretty sure he sells a class on how to install and service. It'd be kind of cool if somebody went through it. Just to, was it good money? Did he teach you? I didn't like how he was promoting, once you're certified. And I thought certified, there's more crap than that. You got to your city, you got to have permits. You got to, there's everybody's different, right? I think Florida, I think is like, even if you got something on your vehicle, you have to have your license number on there. I thought, you know, I don't want to derate it because there is a lot of things to learn about the garage door stuff, but I guess it's one of those things. It might not be bad, but it's just sometimes you can spend the money and you're like, that didn't really help me. You know what I mean? Where I like dealing with some of you guys, over the phone. Mike was one. I gotta follow up with Mike. He had a job, a commercial one, and I was telling him, I said, hey, I said he sent me pictures and stuff. I said, dump the springs, reset the door. I said, that's what I would do. And I just I like those kind of things where I can help somebody through because I'm a big believer that you really need to just kind of do it with the understanding of some safety. Understand springs are very dangerous. Don't be sticking your fingers in drums and cables and but most of the time, generically, us guys know that kind of stuff. So it's kind of, you know, I would have been a heck of a lot nicer if when I got stuck in a situation, if I had somebody I could have called, or a message and said, hey, this is where I'm at, or this, what am I doing am I doing this wrong? Am I screwing this up? What's your opinion? And maybe it's not even my opinion but it leads you on to the next chapter. It's kind of like that whole springs, when somebody's like, I mount them on top. And I'm like, oh, like you do. I've been shoving them in the track, and that works for me. And I didn't know any different, but now I'm going to look at it differently next time I mount one and go, I'm going to check this out, you know? Oh, it says, when he is not qualified himself. Yeah, that's probably true. That guy, you don't know what they're selling you. Like I said, a lot of it's, hey, we got Mr. Sky. That's right. Mr. Sky overhead. Cheers. Need a drink anyways. So, that makes us all look bad. He's rips people off. It makes me feel poor. I know that. Richie, you know, I just made $2,200 off a spring job. What? Where are you at? I'm in the wrong city. Groceries, big profit margins. Groceries, yeah, it could be. Could be. And then you got those people when I used to work grocery that's eating all the grapes in the back of the room. Don't tell. Dakota, so I'll keep you updated. The guy paid $2,000 for the door plus other $2,000 for import. Whoa, import inspection. What? That is crazy. Like, how do you even get this? Like, where do you go? Is this like Alibaba? I mean, oh man, that's so cool. I'd like to know some more details on that. Says, yeah, whoever is trying to sell courses online and showing off money is a big, red flag. Why are you selling the course if you are already making? Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. If you're making so much money, that is very true. I see a lot of guys that kind of turn into that, where it's like, if you're selling this course, like why? Like what you're already, I'm already a multi-billionaire, but I'm here to help you. Okay, well, if you're a billionaire and don't need the money, then go ahead and help me. Like, it is kind of weird. This is my brother installed China import full view, and none of the parts were right. Oh, that's scary. That's not good. Tim Man Dakota for the door size. He's got smoking deal. Normally we manufacture a door that size. 3 mil glass, full vision glass starts around 8. Wow. $8,000. Yeah. That might be why. It'd be nice to know where he got the door. Like, what was the manufacturer brand? Where did he get it from? Are you talking about the guy I don't know if I think everybody kind of knows. I don't know where he's at, where the guy is at that does the course. Is that Vallejo? I don't know what that's called. I don't know for sure. I just think I forget what the thing's called, but I just have a weird sensation. I feel like my thing went blurry. Needs to focus. That's just as we keep being their biggest customers. Just imagine it says was a freaking iPhone that's made in the US with US materials. Nobody would be able to afford it. Yeah, I get it. It's a struggle. I don't think a class could teach you garage doors. Maybe something cookie cutter or yeah, it says and drying everything is perfect, but all the courses from yeah, I agree. I agree with Tanner because for me, like I said with the garage doors, it you know, honestly it was a year. It took me a year just to understand. I remember I still remember it so vividly watching, the business partner, when he was winding springs that, and I'm sitting there like, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand how you're winding that. And then you tighten this, and then it lifts up this door. Like, I didn't understand the whole flow of the, torsion tube and all that kind of thing. So there's you know, like I said, it took me a year just to really feel like I understood it. And then it seemed like 5 years took me just to get where I was like, I could walk into situations, crooked doors, commercial doors, and I felt like I could pretty much, conquer it without thinking about it. Where before it would be like, oh my gosh, the door is only up with two rollers. You know what I mean? The whole door is crooked. Like, what do I do? Do I, call 911? We got a problem where now it's like, okay, I got this. We got to take it 1 inch at a time. We got to keep this thing from falling out of the sky. Let's get some long stem rollers on it. Let's get a lift. Let's get whatever underneath of it. Let's get this going, you know, but I think there's always those little caveats to things that we don't know. We'd like to know that, hey, am I doing this right? That could help you. And I think once you experience it, that's the best. Just getting out there and cranking the wrench, and the biggest thing is not doing any property damage, not hurting anybody, including yourself, making things, as safe as possible, reliable as possible, or just the big things, that are important. But you just learn as long as you start out small and don't bite off too much, you'll be all right. You know what I mean? If you can, and eventually you get to that point where you can hire somebody. And the big thing is trust. Make sure they're good, loyal, trust people. I mean, and if they got a little bit of outdoors in them, that always helps. But you gotta, the character, right? You can't teach them how to, be around the customer if they just don't already have that built in. To be polite, to be kind, to not be there cussing and swearing, to be peeing in cups and leaving them, to being disgusting, to hygienes, to all the stuff kind of in between. That was stuff mommy and daddy and their upbringing. And that's the stuff you need ingrained into them, that they're you know good, loyal people, trustworthy. Where for me, when I started out, it was just, oh, I got experience. And I was like, oh, you're hired. You got experience, you're hired. And you turn into next thing they're doing all kinds of weird things and, stealing and just, bad characteristics. And there's some out there that they're kind of like good salesmen, what I mean, that they try to, you know, whizzle their way in the greed. You got to make sure they're just, they're there to make an honest living and do the right thing. That's always a big thing. So, all right, guys, I got to sing happy birthday. It's late. I got to sing happy birthday to my girl. We did a nice thing for her this morning, but I hope you guys have a good one. Thanks for being here. Don't forget, I don't see nothing, I don't think, on the live streams. So if you want to get a hold of me, do the daveadubson@gmail.com. Email me. Otherwise, some of you guys got my phone number, the 231-720-9675. You didn't hear that from me. Anywho, love you guys. Hope you guys have a good one. Make sure you keep all your fingers. We'll see you later. Take care.